that this was someone that
who was
threatened the entire people in the car. Right, that we were worried about our lives.
Yeah, from what I understand, I think they said it was 51 seconds or somewhere along those lines. I don't know a whole lot about the situation, but I would say, it's you. If the person was a threat to other passengers on the subway, obviously that plays into perhaps why this gentleman stepped in to try to, create.
And can I say a general thing about it? When people feel like they're not being protected, this is what happens. You say you don't want vigilantism. Well, then you have to protect the citizenry. And I feel like here, to me, that's what's going on here in St. Louis. People are going to start doing vigilante because they just don't believe that anyone's coming to help them. And so what do you expect people to do? I think we're going to see more of this if we don't get policing and law enforcement in gear.
But in this particular situation, look, the cops interviewed. Everybody, told police what happened after the incident. The cops pick up Danny Penny. They interview him. He doesn't have a lawyer because he doesn't think he's going to be charged with a crime. He's telling them what happened. And then 7 days later, after there's some protest and pressure, Alvin Bragg's office decides to file this charge or these charges. It's been a complete waste of time.
Driven by the DA.
It's a political, philosophical case. That if this were a Hispanic former Marine who did the exact same thing to a drug. Often arrested, oftentimes drug-using, mega white dude, then that person never would have been charged with anything. It was all this is a George Floyd application of justice, our agenda, or something. This happened, a few years ago when that was all in vogue, and that was the thing that was supposed to happen with respect to the political discourse. And it's a joke, and it's a joke that it's in trial. It's a joke that this hero who potentially saved the lives of people, or certainly put them took them out of a bad place.
Right.
The fact that he's in the docket is a travesty to justice, and Bragg can't be thrown out of office soon enough.
Even Eric Adams realizes it. Look, Eric Adams was out there saying, look, I think, because a lot of people, and Paul Morrow was predicting from Fox, he's a guest on a regular basis, that this would be a hung jury. And I'm like, how can it be a hung jury? It's got to be not guilty. I'm going to have faith in the jury. Well, apparently it was a hung jury, essentially, because
but it could be just one person. You don't know.
It could be. It was probably the guy that was wearing a mask. There was one person wearing a mask on the jury. I'm going to guess it was him.
But, if you penalize people helping others in dangerous situations, that's a bad path. I just from a very global, high-level state.
But here's something else that happened. The same prosecutor that's going after Danny Penny is on record and tape, and I played the audio from a couple of days ago, talking about a guy who was a complete common criminal, long rap sheet, who was robbing someone and accidentally killed someone in the process of that robbery, right?
Felony murder.
It can be felony murder. You're right. But this prosecutor, the same prosecutor here with Danny Penny, thought, you know what? She looked at his background, and she decided that she wanted to be a social worker for that person. So there's more care for the person who's the criminal than there is for the former Marine who was trying to save people on this subway car. The American people don't like that. This is, I think, John, this
people
also represents a lot of what happened in this election, because people look at stuff like this and like, this is crazy.
There's so many crazy things that have become the norm the last 2 or 3 or 4 years, and the country is so thrilled with the idea of moving on, moving past this. This is why that election was such a huge change election. And I can think of no better example of that we've changed than the owners of the Washington Commodores stepping out in the very first week to say it's time to bring back the Redskins.
How about
the
that?
whole country's
I heard about
of course,
that.
got to bring back the Redskins. This is ridiculous. All the crazy stuff that we've been doing around the ideas of race and upsetting people, and to get back to just where meritocracy is what it's all about, and justice actually exists. This is crazy to think in this country that you could be that person in that docket, having done the most brave thing you could possibly do in that subway car,
and then charged with manslaughter. No, it's outrageous. Hang on, I want to shift gears. Let's talk about a real criminal. That's Hunter Biden. Here's the archive of KJP.
The president would end up pardoning his son.
No.
Well, is there?
I just said no. I just answered. Go ahead.
We've been asked that question multiple times. Our answer stands, which is no. It's still a no. It's still a no.
It will always be a no.
It's still a no. It will be a no. It is a no and I don't have anything else to add. Will he pardon his son? No.
No. Except he did, and then there's KJP today.
The president and you portrayed the no pardon is part of where the question comes from. Because all the facts that you have outlined were well known in advance.
And I would add, there has been some circumstances that have changed this, right? Republicans not letting up, saying they won't stop. They're going to continue to do this. I mentioned the recent Trump appointees of legal enforcement positions.
All right, so she goes on and on about this, but how embarrassing. Jane, you cannot defend this nonsense from this president and this White House press spokesperson, can you?
Sure I can.
Really?
You know what?
Really? You're going to do that?
They all pardon morons.
Oh, stop
they
it.
They all do it. Oh, Kushner? I mean, Trump? Come on. The people he pardoned, give me a break. And now he's going to be an ambassador.
Did he say for months and months that he would not? Was there denials in the briefing room that he would not? So you think it's okay? John, I'm going to let you handle this one. John,
I mean, do what you want, but they all do these political things on the way out the door, and I mean,
they don't do it with
gonna...
blanket immunity for every crime that you've ever committed.
That's right. The unconstitutional nature of this pardon to say it'd be one thing if he said, "Look, my son's been found guilty of this guns charge. He's going to be sentenced in a matter of weeks, and I'm going to
commute the sentence
and pardon him for this thing." To go back 11 years, to go back to where Biden actually kind of knows the date when all this started happening, back when he was a vice president, to give him a blanket pardon. Which it looks like he's probably his son has probably lost his Fifth Amendment rights if he ever is called to testify, which is quite interesting. But it's not a surprise for those of us that have listened closely to Joe Biden lie his entire political career, but never more so than he has the past 4 years. And it looks like he's not done yet.
But you saying that he lost his Fifth Amendment rights proves the point that they're making, which is they're going to keep the witch hunt going. So. He's going to pardon his kid.
What witch hunt are we talking about here exactly?
They're going to keep going after. Why do you care about his Fifth Amendment rights?
I hope so, because we need to have some things exposed that have not been exposed.
Okay.
Look, let's go down the list here. Let's tick down the list of what this White House has said, okay? It's transitory inflation. Afghanistan was a success. The border is secure. Robert Hur lied. Biden is fine. Those videos are cheap fakes. Biden had jet lag. Biden had a cold. Biden isn't going to be replaced. Biden isn't going to pardon Hunter. Are you kidding me? Can you name anything? You don't care, Jane. Seriously? Come on.
No, because this is what happens every transition. So are we going to spend the next 4 years fixing the problems of the country?
Yeah, we are.
Are we going to keep going backwards and saying, oh, we're going to, he's going to be obsessed with Hunter Biden, obsessed with Joe Biden, who wasn't even the final candidate?
Look, we're not even at the next administration. We're talking about the time between now and January 20th. And by the way, they're off to a pretty good start, especially with Doge here. You got John Fetterman in the Senate saying, why would it be controversial to cut waste? That guy gets it.
Nobody's.
Look, they're going to do both. I mean, we hope that they do all the good things and they do what Jane wants us to do, which is to fix the government and fix the problems. But if the previous administration behaved in an unlawful way, and even Joe Biden himself in his pardon said that the Department of Justice had been politicized. His own Department of Justice, by the way, had been politicized. Then that bears investigating. And if upon investigating the Department of Justice and other parts of this administration in the last 4 years, these people have done unlawful things, then they should be brought to bear for those things.
You don't remember when the Democrats were going after Trump that you all didn't have the same tune saying this is ridiculous, we need to move forward.
That is true, especially as it relates to the January 6th hearing.
Yeah. I mean, you all complained, screamed left and right. Now, people have gone to jail, okay? So there was wrongdoing. And people went to jail.
Exactly? I'm curious. What did we do? What exactly?
Complaining about the January 6th hearing, and we should move on. And why are we focused on this? And this means nothing.
Well, I don't remember saying that personally because I took January 6th pretty seriously.
I meant the Republican side. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
And now he's talking about going after Liz Cheney because they properly held hearings on January 6th.
No, because she altered evidence. She altered testimony. She was in direct conversation with people who testified in front of the unlawful J6 committee.
Oh, the unlawful J6 committee. Okay.
Okay. Well, Jane, look.
If there was wrongdoing, why not investigate?
There's a reason why it's long. It's now what we're hearing is that there's this long list of people, including Liz Cheney.
Preemptive pardons is what they're talking
pardons
about.
Now because they and think about it. If this becomes a standard where whenever any government comes into the administration, that then they can go for 3 or 4 years and do whatever the hell they want to do, lawful or not. That then they're going to be blanket pardoned by the outgoing executive. then this is going to lead us to tremendous chaos as a country. So,
John Gaskin, you
We've been
can't
down there.
defend. Come on, you can't
I mean,
defend the
and
pardon
we
of
also
Hunter
have
Biden.
a president who has quite a bit of immunity, correct?
Oh, yeah,
So
the
there are a
Supreme
lot
Court.
of things that he could potentially do that may
Absolutely.
be unlawful and not be able to be held accountable. Here's where my position is on it. Look, this is someone who has faced addiction. Hunter Biden clearly has, and has maintained his sobriety. I don't follow him around. I'm not his probation officer, so I don't know. But the real question now becomes, it's time for us to move on from the same old, tired and true playbook. Americans are concerned about inflation. Americans are concerned about the border.
Yep.
Americans are concerned about
Their safety.
how day-to-day things impact their safety, their kids getting off the bus, their kids going to school. I don't think anyone is surprised by the fact that Joe Biden pardoned his son in light of all of the political theater that we have seen over the last coming up on 4 years. So, I mean, and one might even ask themselves, if you were the president, you're not seeking re-election, you're not running again, I think probably all of us would probably have done the same thing
Will
to
we,
allow
will we
your
have all
life to
lied
move-
about it, though, and insisted
I'm
that
not
we weren't
saying
going to
we'd
do
lie
it?
about it, but it is not uncommon as you get to the end of an administration
And
for
you're not
folks to
running, and-
walk back
yeah.
things they said and change their tune for a matter of closure to move on.
But do you really think
Especially
that
when you have
look,
the power to
you
do so.
guys are aware, you're smart Democrats, right? You know that this guy's got no legacy whatsoever. So what does this do to it? You think people are just going to forgive this? Because I think regular people out there who have gone to jail for things far less serious than Hunter Biden will be kind of pissed about this.
Look,
Well,
his legacy is that the Buchanan family is resting at ease because he'll certainly be the worst president in the history of presidents. And his approval rating's in the low 30s now.
Is there
But-
still a lot of the
yeah, look,
Buchanan family around?
Jane, your own party's leadership knows how embarrassing this is, how horrible it looks, how bad it looks to the Democratic Party. And if he continues on, like his brother's going to get the same type of pardon soon. And the reason he has to get this type of blanket 11-year back is because Joe Biden himself is implicated in what was going on, primarily in Ukraine, but other places around the world, where he sold his access to government through his bagman son. Drug dealer, bagman son, sleep with his brother's wife, turned her into a crack. I mean, these are like the laptop has been turned into a book. The book has 195 crimes, including child trafficking. There's pictures of him with young women. You guys don't want to hear any of this stuff.
I don't think it's fair to paint Donald Trump as the moral compass of North America.
I mean,
haven't
you
said
just
that.
really need
and
to walk
some of the
that back,
people that
John.
he's familiar with on a regular, ongoing basis, I think
Yeah.
it would be fair to say even some evangelicals would be ashamed to have them come before them.
All right, hang on.
So,
It's the Reardon Roundtable on a Friday. John Gasket is here. Jane Duker, Forest State Senator John Lamping. We got 2 more segments to go.
The Reardon Roundtable on 97.1 FM Talk. Dependable traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
It's been a slow go on eastbound 40 this afternoon through Chesterfield so far, as I can see on the Cordell and Cordell domestic litigation firm traffic cam, with delays from 340 out to 141, and then there's building delays on westbound 40 through Clayton and Tam, and watch out for extra company southbound on the inner belt heading into 40. Then 55 slows down to Mount Pleasant after exit 204 for Broadway, and again through St. George and exit 199 for Rivas Barracks Road. All the bridges look good in Illinois, but there is some westbound traffic on the Missouri side of the McKinley Bridge in Hyde Park. I'm Ian Stark, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
Local news can come at you fast. Want the latest on what's happening in your backyard? Download the free Odyssey app. Follow your local news station, and you'll get alerts on the top stories making headlines in your city. You can stay in the know, no matter what you're up to, and be among the first to find out when news breaks. Plus, keep tabs on weather and traffic, so you're never caught off guard. To get started, download the Odyssey app. That's AUDACY, and follow your local news station.
Recruiter with the Springfield Police Department. We are currently looking for driven, qualified, and team-oriented citizens to become the next generation of community-minded servants here in Springfield. Our salaries and benefits are paid from day one. Plus, right now, new recruits are eligible to receive a $5,000 hiring incentive, and experienced officers looking to transfer are eligible for $10,000. To learn more, visit gospd.com. That's gospd.com.
Brought to you by the Springfield, Missouri Police Department.
You want to retire soon.
But everyone keeps telling you to wait until you're 65. After all, that's the age that you qualify for Medicare and you're close to full retirement age. I'm Marvin Mitchell, president of Compass Retirement Solutions. In my new book, Retire Early, The 9 Critical Decisions When Retiring Before 65, I discuss proper planning to help make early retirement possible. When to take Social Security, what to do with your 401k, health care, how to maximize retirement income, and much more. Get a complimentary copy of Retire Early by calling 1-800-743-8510. That's 1-800-743-8510. Can you retire early? Call 1-800-743-8510 for your copy of Retire Early, the 9 critical decisions when retiring before 65.
Investments and services offered through Compass Retirement Group, a registered investment advisory in Missouri and Illinois. Compass Retirement Solutions is not affiliated with the U.S. government or any governmental agency.
A lot of people, when they come in, they'll say, this is my last hope. The next step is getting them in the right arch supports. Our goal is to have that long-term change for them, to see someone that is in pain. I change things for them. See how we can help you with a free fitting at the Good Feet store.
It's time for a $98 furnace tune-up.
And this portion of the show is sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating and Air.
This is the giving season, so on the Annie Fry Show, we're turning our attention to the St. Louis Area Food Bank.
Join us for a special live broadcast and food drive at Ruler Foods this Wednesday.
Together, we can make a real difference. This Wednesday at Ruler Foods in St. Charles.
All right, welcome back. Second segment of a Reardon Roundtable on a Friday afternoon. With us this afternoon, the one, the only Jane Duker. She's been off for a couple of weeks. Former State Senator John Lamping is here, and John Gaskin, who is a Democratic lobbyist in Jefferson City. Let me touch on just this horrible shooting in New York City of the United Healthcare executive. And there's just a little bit of news on that here this afternoon because they, and this doesn't surprise me because I think, Jane, I don't know who would agree. I think we would all agree maybe. They got this image of this guy out there. They know who he is. They got to know who he is at this point. The new reporting is that they think he left the state, to which I would say, duh, he's probably getting as far away from that as possible.
Absolutely. I mean, you know, this idea that you just go assassinate somebody, what ticked me off was all the kooks, these, you know, inclusive kooks who are saying, oh, yeah, he worked for an insurance company. He deserved it. You know,
have you seen that? It's been pretty vile.
It's been vile and disgusting. And you know, these people, I don't get it. So they're basically like, oh, you know, well, you denied claims. You deserved it. I mean, it's disgusting.
One of the websites, I can't remember if it was Libs of TikTok or and Wokeness, they basically took a video and they scrolled on the CNN comments of the story. And I couldn't believe what people were saying. You know, happy that the guy was killed. All this stuff about healthcare.
Craven.
So it certainly, you know, peeled back some of the feelings that Americans have about healthcare. But good Lord, I didn't expect that response.
I expect that this is going to be squashed as best as it can. So you saw that he inscribed on the 3 bullets: delay, deny, and defend. And this has long been a criticism of the for-profit healthcare industry, is that's how they process claims. I mean, think about as far back as, remember the movie The Incredibles? And Mr. Incredible was the father, and he worked in an insurance company, and his job was to delay, deny, and defend a claim. And remember, he told little old lady, like, here's what you do. And this has long been a criticism of healthcare companies. And I think that that's what this shooting's about. Either this person was either hired. Let me back up for a second. So the stock itself has fallen about 15% since the shooting, which that should make a difference. He's the CEO of the company. This idea that the public doesn't really think about delay, deny, defend. They don't think about the insurance company. They live it and they suffer through it. And if you know anybody that's had to battle with insurance companies, they're battling with for-profit insurance companies. This is an issue like that Josh Holloway and the left can actually argue against the insurance industry. So I think that's what this is. Either this person himself had a loved one,
family member,
something happened, and he was standing up against them, or he's part of a group that thinks these same things, or he was hired by somebody to carry this out, and somebody shorting the stock against it. I mean, it sounds crazy, but things happen, right? But I think delay, deny, defend. It's already been buried. You have to look for it, and people don't even want to talk about what it means. And so this.
You mean the story itself?
Well, I
No,
get
the
that
shooting
people
itself. The shooting was this person that shot him.
Well,
was
it's
sending
not
a
been
message.
buried. It's certainly not been buried on Fox. And I think you're right. I think the conventional wisdom would certainly he's sending a message. Although for those of us who play part-time detectives and we watch Dateline, you think, well, wait, maybe they were throwing people off the scent. I don't know that is necessarily what happened, but people have all kinds of theories right now.
Yeah, like to the extent that this comes out and this is discussed and this is and people are made to understand, because most people have their heads down. They don't understand these concepts of what an insurance company does and doesn't do until it affects them.
And I think it affects a lot of people. I think a lot. You get in a car accident and you're fighting with the insurance company because you can't get your car fixed and it wasn't even your fault. I think everybody senses this, and I wouldn't be surprised if it was a disgruntled insured or insured's family. But you don't get to assassinate people.
No, you don't. But if that's what it is, then it's in the interest of the industry not to have that conversation, like not to have people talk about that more. Like, so people aren't talking about that aspect of this crime. They're kind of like, oh, is that crazy? Looks like a hit. We're on the scent. We see what's happening. He's leaving the state, blah, blah, blah.
Well, no, you see it all over Twitter. These lunatics who think that this was justified because they hate
Twitter's
insurance
not the
companies.
world. I'm saying the average person, they know about this story vaguely. And the insurance company, the insurance industry does not want that to become part of this conversation more than it is today. They'll try to squash it. They don't. This guy, I wouldn't be surprised if this guy's found dead somewhere.
I'm really shocked that they haven't found him yet, because I'm pretty convinced that they know who he is. But if he just got out of the area,
what kind of collaboration he might have had from other? I hate to think way out there, but it does make you wonder.
How did he
in
get away?
In a major city like that, a major state like New York State,
maybe he's dead.
Maybe he's
possibly.
Dead. Did you see that Adam Schiff resigned from the House?
Wait, no, I did not.
He was told no on his pardon.
Maybe that's what happened. Why, Jane? Does it say?
Oh,
so
well,
that's
no,
breaking news
I
here?
don't know. It just says breaking. Here's a letter. I don't know why. Did he get?
Wait, didn't he get elected? He got elected to the Senate.
Yeah, but why do you resign now?
Okay.
I mean, then there's a break.
But that's why, though, because he's going to the Senate. It has to be.
But why now?
I don't know.
A month early.
Does that mean maybe a special or something?
No,
like that
no,
that
because
can
it's
be
already had
called,
elections.
or-
California just got done counting like 15 minutes ago, and I think his House seat's been replaced already.
Yeah, it just seems early. Nobody else is doing it.
That's good. We'll look into that. Let's segue a little bit here. We had, and there's a disagreement. John, I'll start with you. John Gaskin, Jane Duker, former state senator John Lamping on the panel. Wesley Bell has named his replacement, for county
Page
prosecutor.
Page.
Well, kind of. Wasn't it a team effort? Sam Page names him, I suppose, but it was a team effort. Now there's a dispute on whether Sam Page has the legal right to do that. What's interesting is that there seems to be a little bit of a gray area here, isn't there?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. It does make one wonder, does a county executive have the authority statutorily to appoint a state's attorney? Mm-hmm. So I think it'll be very interesting to see what happens. What is concerning, though, is that there is a gray area there. Is there going to be a misuse of taxpayer funds, people's time, which is a great resource in government, for that to be upended once they have a ruling? So it will be interesting because it impacts people's jobs and a lot of people. Some people are in limbo right now.
And this is frustrating. So he's appointing people before there's even a vacancy. So, and the council is sitting here going, we have a role in this too.
What is their role in that?
Well, if the charter applies, then they have to get confirmed or denied by the county council. There's been no discussion with them. Page is playing very, goofy about whether he thinks the 30 days is already running. So it's turning into a legal quagmire. Then you got Bailey Sewin saying, it's the governor's pick. And, so we don't have a court ruling on that. Court Van Ostren, who is Page's pick, is already over in the prosecutor's office. Now, those offices are locked down. They have very personal information that should not be open to anyone except law enforcement officials. And he's already over in the office. I mean, Page is not going to follow the law. Bailey is not going to stand down. I've done almost all of the important cases on charter authority versus statute. And people have asked me, and I've said, this is a very close call. Generally, charter counties get to do a lot, especially with regard to their own officers. Mm-hmm. Prosecutors are a little different, however. They are a creature of statute. They only exist by virtue of statute, and they enforce state law. The state has a large interest in prosecutors and the laws governing prosecutors. So, this is going to go through the courts. why Page has to pick the fight and do all this nonsense and not just say, okay, I believe it's my authority. The Attorney General and the governor say they believe it's their authority. We get through court, we get it figured out, and then everybody does their job. But Page has to keep, wasting time, energy, political nonsense. This is all posturing. And what it does is it hurts any candidate that gets out there. So, I mean, all these people who, good people who want to do it, it turns this into
when
a
is that
clown
position
show.
up again? Then when would it be another
Two
year
more
or
years.
2 more years? 2 more years?
Yeah.
Is there any doubt Sam Page is the worst county executive we've ever
There's
had?
absolutely no doubt.
And what's happening right now, this is Sam Page governing style, which is to find bully and find some
fight.
issue where he's going to pick a fight, not solve any problems. Right. What problem of the St. Louis County? What goal does he achieve? What problem has he solved for? What's his plan to make St. Louis County a more
spend $650 million getting a new government building. That is his top priority. And you know what's funny? I mean, and we're not the only one that feel this way, John. The Business Journal came out with an article about let's talk about the leadership void in the St. Louis region.
Well, let's talk about Jason Hall leaving because
that's
what the hell
significant.
did that guy do for this region? What did he do? Can we name one thing?
He kissed up to the mayor.
That's it.
That was it. And I think...
And his donors.
Well, and the donors. But the donors are the ones that fired him. So, I mean, he got another job. But I think that's very significant because I hope it means is the business community has finally said, enough is enough. You've told us you're going to ignore downtown. Jason Hall was close with the mayor. She still doesn't care about downtown, and nor does the majority of the Board of Aldermen. So maybe the business community is finally saying we need to do what's good for us and what we believe the community ought to look like, and we shouldn't abandon downtown.
You know what's hilarious about downtown? Because I'm here every day or during the week, and I drive by City Hall, and this is one of those things that I'll mention here, and I seemingly am the only person that really cares about this, but since I drive by City Hall and Pelker Park every day, there are these gates.
The fence is still there.
They've been there for more than a year. They came up when Kamala came last October. There's no reason to keep people out of that park. They kept the homeless people out.
They want to keep the homeless out.
I mean, honestly, are those ever going to come down?
No.
That's embarrassing. You come downtown, you see City Hall,
City
there's
Hall
gates all
is
over the
behind
place.
Gates. And what does that tell you? The mayor doesn't even feel safe from her own people. I mean, and this narrative running around, the chief is on this PR tour about how crime is so down. First of all, they compare crime numbers with when we had twice the population. And two, I mean, you saw...
Well, that in and of itself is an important point to make.
Of course it is.
Yes.
It's so ridiculous. And do you know that Colin Brown, who was buried today, that hockey player who did nothing
CBC.
more than drive on the highway, that crime is still not on the crime map.
Yeah.
I mean, it's disgusting. And
That's
all these...
the second person that's been killed basically in the same spot with random gunfire on 55.
It's not random.
Well, it's not. It's gang,
that area,
it's gang gunfire.
Everyone knows that area down there is just drug heaven. But you know what? We don't have enough officers to go and break up the drug ring. This is happening all the time. And, this tour, this gaslighting tour that everything is safe and wonderful, they tell you about car break-ins. There's been a series of car break-ins. Well, if there's a line of car break-ins along a street in one night, that only goes into crime stats as one incident.
I retweeted my friend, former State Senator Jamila Nasheed.
Mm-hmm.
She tweeted the other day, she goes, I can't say anything nice about St. Louis, but I still love STL.
Exactly.
And I
What
feel
she say? It's like an oxymoron.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
Yeah,
I just moved into the city.
It really wasn't that.
I mean.
But the point is, I feel exactly the same way we all feel. We love, we got a failed city government.
Yes.
We got a failed county government.
Yes, the region's in trouble.
The region's in trouble. It's not moving. Business community is firing its chief executive officers. I can't find anything good to say. I love St. Louis.
Yeah.
And I think
I
so
do
many of
too.
us feel that way. And
we wouldn't complain if we didn't care.
I agree.
And we need to put we need a sea change. I mean, and we've been Democrat city since 1948. We've been Democrat county since the 80s. And it's time for a change. But I'm here to tell my Democratic friends, so many good Republicans have given up and left. I'm not even sure we have the person to
Good
to take you guys
Democrats are giving up. This has nothing to do with Democrat, Republican. This has to do with some horrible people have gotten in office at exactly the wrong time. And this is the worst leadership in this region that it was even imaginable. And what I'm afraid of is everybody's sitting there saying, well, there's only one trajectory where it's just going to have to go to, heck in a handbasket before we can rise up and make change. I moved into the city. If I hated the city that much, I wouldn't move into the city. But you know what? I mean, I am not going to fight for better governance.
Things get better.
That's right. And I am not going to stop fighting for better governance in the whole region. And I hope the governor is really serious about saying that he cares about the economic engine of this state. And we
I think he is. I think Mike Kehoe is. Hang in there, Jane. We got one more segment to go. We're coming back. More of the Reardon Roundtable.
You're listening to the Reardon Roundtable on 97.1 FM Talk. Dependable traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
And it's still a rough ride through Chesterfield and eastbound 40 right now with delays from 340 out to 141. And it's also busy westbound on 40 past Kings Highway and the Inner Bell through Ladue. Then you got building delays out there westbound 40 through Clayton Tam, and 55 still slow through Mount Pleasant after exit 204 for Broadway, and again through St. George and exit 199 for Rivas Barracks Road. All the bridges to Illinois and look good and back at the moment. This report brought to you by Mosby Building Arts. I'm Ian Stark, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
After a whirlwind year, bring peace back to your home. Enjoy 10% off Mosby remodeling projects or no payments until 2026. Call 314-909-1800 by December 31st. Mosby Building Arts, bringing joy home.
Count on Steel for Christmas cleanup made easy with the SEA 20 battery-powered handheld vacuum. Now just $99.99. Visit your local Steel dealer today or shop online at steelusa.com. Valid offer for a limited time, only at participating dealers while supplies last.
And by the way, I think people have noticed Sue is off today. She will be back on Monday. One of the things that Sue and I did a couple years ago is we had Susan L. Ward on right after the first of the year, and we were asking her some questions. She's a family practice attorney, asking her questions about divorce. And one thing that stuck out is that she was just getting hammered with calls after the holidays. And it makes sense, right? We're getting into the holidays. Families that might be breaking up a little bit, you don't want to do it during the holidays. But I think the advice from Susan would be, don't put that call off, because you want to make sure that you're not making mistakes. And they have a great team here in St. Louis with a couple of different locations and probably most importantly, a ton of experience. And they can help you, whether it's the issue of divorce, which is the end of a marriage, or anything that's related to post-divorce issues, modifications, child support changes, all of those things Susan and the team can handle. They have a great website, got all kinds of information, and a confidential consultation form, 314-783-9400, online, STLFamilyLaw.com, the focus on family law, and the emphasis on you, Susan L. Ward.
Hey, St. Louis, are you in search of top-notch cybersecurity solutions? Look no further. ThrottleNet is here to help. Ransomware attacks are on the rise, putting businesses like yours at risk. Don't let cyber criminals jeopardize your hard-earned success. ThrottleNet provides comprehensive cybersecurity services tailored specifically to your unique needs. Our award-winning customer service provides 24/7 protection to keep your data safe and secure. Take charge of your digital security today. Protect your business, protect your future. ThrottleNet.com, your reliable partner in cybersecurity.
Listen, you've been making house payments for years, right? And right now your home's value has never been higher, right? That means you're likely sitting on a small fortune in equity. Good for you. That's cash you could use to help secure your retirement, solve all your financial burdens, enable you to travel, everything you want. The catch is you're not ready to move. No problem. You don't have to with True Hold, Sell and Stay Leaseback Program. This is a genius financial strategy. You sell your home to True Hold while the value is high. You bank all that equity in cash now, and you can stay in your home as long as you like with an easy, affordable lease. And True Hold pays property taxes, insurance, and maintenance. True Hold unlocks your wealth without uprooting your life. Get a True Hold offer now while your home's value is sky high. Call 1-855-300-9993. That's 1-855-300-1993. Or visit TrueHold.com. The smarter, faster way to cash out without moving out. TrueHold.com.
Ho, ho, ho! This is Santa, and I'm going to be in the Defiance Christmas Festival Parade Saturday, December 7th. Food trucks open at 9 a.m. At 10 a.m., kids' activities, including a bounce house, along with live music from Clover and the Dashing Through Defiance 5K. Sign up at runsignup.com. Parade starts at noon right through downtown Defiance. Please, no Santa costumes. The kids come to see me. Following the parade, pictures with me, Santa, and a beer tent with live music at 1:30. No coolers in the park. That's Saturday, December 7th. Come and see me in Defiance. Ho, ho, ho!
The Mark Cox Morning Show.
Hey, it's Kim. Mark's back Monday. Hopefully the frog in his throat is gone. At 8:20, Jessie Jane Duff on whether she thinks Pete Hegseth will get confirmed for defense secretary.
Weekdays from 5 to 9.
The Mark Cox Morning Show.
On St. Louis's home for conservative talk. The battle is on. This is the Reardon Roundtable.
Well, we have no Sue today, but Ethan Hannaford, our producer, is going to handle Sue's news in the next hour. I got Paul Hall on entertainment. Cusumano is coming up with sports. And then, Jane, I'm going to talk about this a little bit more after 4 o'clock. I'm very, very excited because, and this is right up your wheelhouse, and maybe you've already watched it because you watch everything, but there's a new documentary on Max called Yacht Rock. Have you been familiar with this?
I have not.
Oh,
I'm shocked.
I watched it this morning. It's fantastic. And Garret Price, the director of the film, will join us at 5:25. I'm very excited. Michael McDonald is essentially the star. Michael McDonald is from right here in St. Louis. He grew up in Ferguson, and he's the star of this documentary, and it's great. He's such a great guy, too.
Which
Yeah,
doobie-doobie?
exactly.
Yeah, okay.
So really, really fun stuff. Jane is here, John Gaskin, John Lamping on the panel. John Lamping, let me start with this topic because I'll be curious to see if you and I agree on this one because I don't think I like this plan. The incoming president of the Missouri Senate, Cindy O'Loughlin, who's from Shelbina, has filed a bill that would ask voters to change how Missouri Supreme Court judges are selected. So if that passes, it would be a constitutional amendment that would allow us to elect Supreme Court judges. Personally, I don't like that idea because I don't feel qualified to elect a judge. I also really don't like the way that judges are appointed, so I don't know what the process is here. But what do you think about that idea?
I don't like the idea because I don't think there's any way for us to really understand who it is we're voting for, though I think it's a better idea than the Missouri Court Plan, which before Jane jumps in and talks about how wonderful the Missouri Court Plan is and how it's the bedrock and other states copy it and all think it's just perfect. And essentially what the Missouri Court Plan, the way we do it now, the way we pick judges now, is the legal community itself picks the judges and gives the governor 3 choices, which means that it's either left or far left. Even when you have a Republican governor, that's who's offered up. So that's why the courts are as left-leaning as they are, because the legal community is left-leaning, and they pick all the all the nominees, and all we try to do reform when I was there is what a wonderful plan this is. So I personally don't think that voters voting for them is very good because then you're going to have $10 million Supreme Court races, and it's not going to be good. Mm-hmm. I think that they should do is they should let the governor pick whoever he wants to pick, the way we do presidential, and that's not even on the table right now. But that's how I would do it.
Well, look, and I've been on all sides of this. I mean, I'm a lawyer. I have a spouse who's a judge. I've been in the governor's office, and I still stand by the nonpartisan court plan. It's not perfect, but it's better than anything else out there. I think that elections are by far the worst idea, and I think
so too.
If we do this, you don't even have any idea how bad it will get, and then.
Well, the other thing about this is, let's be clear here, though, about one of the things, and this is what I think this upsets a lot of independent voters, and justifiably so. We would all probably agree that the amendment process in Missouri is flawed, and maybe there's a way to fix that. But when the people of Missouri speak on an issue, what I don't like and what people don't like is all of a sudden the legislature goes in and they try to undo that, right? So it's pretty clear that people are able to vote for Republicans, whether it's Josh Hawley or Mike Kehoe, and then maybe make a different decision on an issue like abortion or gambling. But to undo that, and for the first priority of Cindy O'Loughlin to try to undo that, I don't think that's where the state should be heading. So I would take issue with that.
The state has voted on the nonpartisan court plan more than one time, and they've said they want to keep it. So I agree with you that, we're just going to try to overturn the will of the voters again, and I don't think that that's the top priority. What happened to IP reform? I mean,
nobody's talking about it right now.
And so I don't like it. It's not perfect, but you have to have people who know about the person, know about the job, know about to do this.
That's where a governor should be able to pick who's going to appoint.
But he gets to pick from 3. That's pretty good.
The legal community picks for him.
Well, there's Republicans that are involved in that process.
Absolutely, because the presiding judge, no matter which party they are always on the commission. And so, and the judges, and it doesn't matter what party, the judges tend to have a lot of sway because, they know, what they need, and they generally are pretty. And there are citizens on the commission to balance it out, that it's not just the cabal of lawyers
and they
running the place.
come from various backgrounds.
And they have
Chris Goodson is somebody
and
that's
he is a
involved in that
Republican.
process. Yeah, exactly.
Because their terms are longer than a gubernatorial term, so that you don't have this swing in the party thing. So they're all staggered, so that one party, theoretically, because of term limits in the governor, cannot hijack the whole process.
Well, the Supreme Court, the way we do the federal courts, it's the executive picks the judges. And nobody's saying, let's do the Missouri plan at the federal level.
And guess what? Judges never get picked and confirmed during election time, and the courts get clogged up because for 2 years...
Because of vacancies.
Because of vacancies.
This
and
plan,
we have more
the Missouri
vacancies
court
here
plan-
in St.
The
Louis.
Missouri court plan exists because until 2010, the state was governed by Democrats, and our courts now are way to the left of the electorate. I mean, the state just won 18% plus for Trump, and our courts are left of center, and people...
We've had Republican governors
who got to choose from 3 people that the legal community
But they
picked out.
also put the people on the Judicial Commission. We've had Republicans putting people on the Judicial Commission since
And
Jay Nixon.
it's a 2-to-1 vote to get. It doesn't work, Jane. You know, you're smiling. You know it works for you guys.
It's
it
not
doesn't work for us.
perfect, but it's better than anything else we've got.
On the topic of courts, how about the hearing this week before the Supreme Court on the Tennessee gender-affirming care law? Obviously, this plays a role in St. Louis. We've been a little bit of ground zero with Jamie Reed being a whistleblower at WashU and Children's Hospital for Ketanji Brown Jackson. Sorry, John Jackson, the person who could not even define what a woman was, to make some weird comparison to that law where you're mutilating children to interracial marriage was stunning to a lot of people, even in the legal community. So this thing's going to probably be a 6-3 ruling. Even John Roberts was pretty clear on where he's going to go on this. Gorsuch was quiet. But this is an issue I think that a lot of people in the country really care about right now. And there's a big difference between kids. We're talking about kids here. We're not talking about adults that want to rip off their breasts and cut off their penis. Go for it if that's what you want to do.
It's a very, very controversial issue, and it played a major role in the way this election went, no matter which side of the aisle you're on.
I think it did.
These are issues that people are actually talking about because many are very blown away of the idea of the conversation about it. And number 2, some of the stories that you hear and read about are very concerning. Very similar to what happened over at WashU with the whistleblower. I mean, you had people in Jeff City on both sides of the aisle, both publicly and privately, who had some real concerns. And so I think what you just said regarding the Supreme Court, I think we know which direction it's going to go. I don't think very many people will be surprised. And it's one of those things that had a big impact on this election. I don't care what anybody says. It absolutely impacted which way the White House went.
It's this extremist that, I'm sorry, it's an 80% issue.
Jane, there's not.
It's
I was
an
trying to think about this.
80% issue.
There's
if
never
not
been a
more.
Democrat that's come on my roundtable. Now we tend to favor the sane ones, but there's never been anyone on your side that's come on and defended this. There really hasn't been.
Oh no, and I'm like, if we go through one more session in the legislature in Jeff City where this is the focus, I'm going to lose it. I mean, that's 1/10 of 1% of the population at the expense of everything else going on in government, and I think that. It's just gone too far. The whole thing has
it has gone too far, and that's why Trump won a month ago. We got to think about what's going on in the military. The changes that this country is going to make. If they're not radical changes, they're just going back to being normal. Of course, this is going to be 6-3 because the 3 Supreme Court justices are radical, and the people that put them on the court know that they're radical. And the country's had enough of this. And even if your party keeps even if just 10% of this stays around for the next election cycle, until your party gets rid of it, they're never going to have a chance because the country hates this. They hate all of these radical DEI, transgender, all this XYZ, ABC plus stuff, and we're going back to normal. That's all we're going to do. And hopefully we get there as soon as we possibly can. And I talked about earlier in the show, the Redskins are going to be the Redskins, and hopefully the Cleveland Indians are going to be the Indians, and the country's going to get back to normal.
I'll be very curious to see if the Redskins actually change back to the Redskins.
They're going through the process now.
I know that there's some efforts made. Pete Hegseth, John, does he make it as defense
secretary
nominee?
I think he's going to make it. I think it's the Trump needs to start stacking up W's, and he's got one loss with this first Attorney General nomination, and I think he needs to just just stand up and take them all.
They've been
all
fighting
home.
on Capitol Hill for that one. I don't have time for my Democrat friends to weigh in on that one because we're out of time. John Gaskin, good to see you. You're looking lean and mean. For people who don't have the visuals, John is looking very, very lean and mean these days.
Handsome devil he is.
Look, I say this with all sincerity because when I was in high school, you may or may not know this, but I weighed 208 pounds. That was my high mark, and I lost a lot of weight before I went to college. But you've been working on it, so congratulations. You look fantastic.
Thank you.
Jane, you always look fantastic. And you're going to hang with me
sweet.
in the next hour. John Lampy, great to see you. Have a great Christmas. Probably see you before that. We're coming back with Sue's News with Ethan in the next hour.
Catch anything you missed today by getting the show podcast at 971talk.com. Dependable traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
You got 40 really slowing down now westbound from Kings Highway past Center Belton and Lindbergh, and eastbound 40 also still crawling through Chesterfield with delays from 340 out to 141. Then the Cordell domestic litigation firm traffic camera shows some slow spots on 55 heading southbound through Mount Pleasant after exit 204 for Broadway, and again through St. George into exit 199 for Revis Barracks Road. All the bridges to and from Illinois looking good at the moment. I'm Ian Stark, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
If you have unfiled taxes or are in debt to the IRS, this is important news. Did you know the IRS has programs specifically designed to help people struggling with tax debt? Powerful tax assistance programs that can save you thousands if you qualify. No one knows these programs better than the experts at Optima Tax Relief, America's most trusted tax resolution firm, A-rated by the Better Business Bureau. Their award-winning team of tax attorneys and licensed professionals have resolved over $1 billion of tax debt for their clients. One call to Optima can start the process, helping to end your worries about wage garnishment, asset seizure, and other IRS actions. Make sure you're getting the best options to solve your tax problems. Call the experts at Optima today for a free confidential consultation.
Call 800-987-6122. 800-987-6122. 800-987-6122.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
In Missouri, farming isn't just a profession. It's a purpose. You can feel it in our 27 million acres of farmland. You can see it in the nearly 41,000 Missourians who work in agriculture. You can hear it at our farmers markets. You can count it in the $93.7 billion it brings our state. And you can taste it at your family's dinner table. A lot of farmers in our state rely on Bayer's tools and inventions because Bayer has a purpose too. To help farmers thrive. Learn more at go.bayer.com/purpose. Paid for by Bayer.
Hi, I'm Jim Brennan of McKelvey Homes. Have you always wished for a brand new home, but don't want to leave your neighborhood? You are in luck. McKelvey has brand new move-in ready homes in established neighborhoods like Creve Coeur, De Pere, Kirkwood, and many more. Select one of our custom home sites or we will build on your lot. You will love McKelvey's legendary quality and personal service. Visit McKelveyhomes.com and move up to McKelvey since 1898.
At Neovitin, we are all about supporting your nutrition, and that's why we are excited about our new Neovitin Omega-3 supplement. Neovitin Omega-3 is formulated with 1,200 milligrams of omega-3 fatty acids to help support healthy hearts. Our high-quality omega-3 fish oils are sourced from wild-caught fish and tested for heavy metals. With our convenient monthly subscription, you can get Neovitin Omega-3 delivered right to your door every month with no long-term obligations. Support your daily nutrition and sign up for a Neovitin Omega-3 subscription at neovitin.com today.
The T.R. Hughes Homes for the Holidays display and inventory sale is going on now through the rest of the year. Move-in ready, up to $50,000 in savings just in time for the holidays. Visit trhughes.com for details. That's trhughes.com.
It's the greatest pop rock of the 60s and 70s. The Happy Together Tour 2025 with the Turtles, Jay and the Americans, Little Anthony, Mark Lindsay, former lead singer of Paul Revere and the Raiders, the Vogues, and the Cowsills. August 21st, the Family Arena. Reserve seats on sale Friday, 10 a.m. at the Carroll House Furniture box office located at the Family Arena or Ticketmaster.
Clint Black in concert. Clint Black, an incredible night featuring some of his greatest hits. Saturday, April 12th, 7 p.m., the Family Arena. Clint Black in concert. Special guests Ruby Lee and Emily Ann Roberts. On sale Friday, 10 a.m. at the Carroll House Furniture Box Office located at the Family Arena or Ticketmaster. Don't miss Clint Black.
Hey, it's Mark Reardon. If you're nearing retirement or already retired, call my friends Thomas Helbig and Bob Kershaw with the Retirement Advisory Group. They'll show you how linking to the market is much safer than owning the market for your retirement savings. They're the official financial advisors of my show. Go to retirementkey.com. Hey, we're going to come back here with Paul Hall in the next hour. Also, Frank Cusumano on sports, a hell of a Mizzou recruiting class. We'll get into that, some blue stuff, and more.
KFTK FM Florissant. From the Under Law Injury Lawyers, GetJim.com studio.
That's GetJim.com.
97.1 FM Talk. Always live on the free Odyssey app.
I'm Lisa Brady, Fox News. In the subway chokehold case against Daniel Penny over the death of Jordan Neely, the most serious charge has been dismissed. The judge granting the prosecution's request to throw out the second-degree manslaughter count after the jury deadlocked on it.
The jury came back twice, deadlocked, unable to reach a unanimous decision on the second-degree manslaughter charge. And that's when you had a whole conversation in the courtroom between the prosecution and the defense on what to do next. Ultimately, the judge dismissed that top charge. We also know that jurors have requested to review a lot of information, a lot of video evidence. They've also wanted to review portions of testimony, and they've asked the judge at least twice to explain the laws.
Fox's C.B. Cotton, the jury asking for the definitions of recklessness and negligence, also asking earlier today for clarification on what a reasonable person means when it relates to use of force. The jury will be back Monday to begin deliberating the lesser count, criminally negligent homicide. The manhunt for the gunman who killed the United Healthcare CEO this week goes nationwide. NYPD Chief of Detectives Joseph Kenney telling Fox News it's now believed the person of interest has left New York City, possibly the same way he's believed to have arrived, by bus.
We believe he was here for about 10 days, but we have that bus leaving the same morning, him going up to the Port Authority terminal the same morning of the incident. Approximately an hour afterwards.
Police have surveillance photos and videos from multiple locations around the city, including a hostel where sources say the gunman used a fake ID to check in and paid in cash. Police say DNA and fingerprint evidence is also being analyzed, along with a burner phone left near the scene of the murder. The U.S. Agriculture Department ordering nationwide testing of raw or unpasteurized milk from dairy farms, an effort to better track the spread of bird flu. America is listening to Fox News.
The holidays mean more travel, more shopping, more time online, and more personal info in more places that could expose you more to identity theft. But LifeLock monitors millions of data points per second. If your identity is stolen, our US-based restoration specialists will fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Don't face drained accounts, fraudulent loans, or financial losses alone. Get more holiday fun and less holiday worry with LifeLock. Save up to 40% your first year with promo code NEWS. Visit lifelock.com. Terms apply.
An official message from Medicare.
Couple more minutes and we'll start this month's book club.
You know, I usually love a plot twist, but this year I'm comparing my options during Medicare open enrollment.
You can't assume your current health or drug plan is the best one for you.
And you gotta make sure your drugs are covered. That's important.
So is saving money.
Review all your options at Medicare.gov. Open enrollment ends December 7th. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation. Weather.
The official 97.1 FM Talk Weather Center forecast: sunshine, a few clouds for the afternoon. The high today 42. Clear, chilly night, low tonight 30. And then sunny, warmer day tomorrow, the high 55. Sun and clouds, a mild day on Sunday, the high 64. Partly sunny, looks like a nice day on Monday. Very mild afternoon, the high at 59. I'm Steve Williams for 97.1 FM Talk.
I'm Chad Robinson with Your Money Now. During today's trading session, 23 companies saw their shares in the S&P 500 reach new 52-week highs. The companies range from heavy hitters such as Amazon.com, Meta, and Apple to Paycom, ServiceNow, and Clorox. Tesla, Costco, and Hewlett-Packard also produced record numbers. Job creation did rebound in November. The Bureau of Labor Statistics reports that non-farm payrolls increased by 227,000 for the month compared to the Dow Jones consensus estimate of 214,000. Stocks rose today on the backs of that jobs data, with tech-heavy NASDAQ and the S&P setting fresh new record highs. The Dow dropped 123, the S&P was up 15, and the NASDAQ gained more than 150. U.S. crude oil futures for January down 1.6% to just above $67 a barrel. That's your money now.
My son loves to fly kites, but my active psoriatic arthritis can sometimes hold me back. Now with Skyrizi to treat my skin and joints, I'm ready to go. Skyrizi, Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults, helps with less joint pain, stiffness, swelling, and fatigue. For those who also have plaque psoriasis, 90% clearer skin is possible with just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms such as fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine.
With Skyrizi, there's nothing like clearer skin and better movement, and that means everything. Ask your doctor about Skyrizi today and visit skyrizi.com or call 1-86.
This hour of the Mark Reardon Show is sponsored by Gamma Tree Experts. Your trees deserve the best care. Call Gamma Tree Experts.
You've listened to 97.1 FM Talk. You've heard of Doug Voss of Voss Financial and Safe Money Radio, as he has been a staple as the financial expert on the station for many years. You can hear him on Safe Money Radio several times a weekend right here on 97.1 FM Talk. And you can talk to Doug Voss directly. Here's his number. Call Doug at 844-676-SAFE. That is 844-676-7233. Doug Voss is a registered representative. Securities offered through D.H. Hill Securities, LLLP. Member FINRA and SIPC.
Prescription products require completion of an online medication consultation with an independent healthcare provider through the LifeMD platform and are only available if prescribed. Subscription required. Individual results may vary. Additional restrictions apply at lifemd.com. Read all warnings before using GLP-1s. Side effects may include a risk of thyroid C-cell tumors. Do not use GLP-1s if you or your family have a history of thyroid cancer.
Should GLP-1 weight loss medication like Wegovy and Zepbound cost hundreds of dollars? We don't think so. TryLifeMD.com helps provide insurance access to the leading GLP-1 medications. Visit TryLifeMD.com to get your free insurance benefits check and see your eligibility in minutes. Listen to Tara's story after losing 42 pounds.
You just take your shot. It doesn't feel like you're on a diet. What I wasn't expecting it to do was to shut off the food noise. I had gone from 237 to 195. This was life-altering, and if I can do it, I feel like anybody can do it.
Get started right now with your free insurance benefits check and see your eligibility for coverage in minutes at TryLifeMD.com. That's TryLifeMD.com.
Honey, bags are packed and in the trunk. Is the car good to drive to Mother's holiday dinner?
Yes, dear. Car's good. We have Ox Car Care for their extended car service plan. Ox covers our repair bills if anything happens. We have no worries if any problems come up on our holiday travels. Ox Car Care has our back.
I remember. Ox has flexible coverage plans that can protect issues with engine, transmission, brake systems, and so much more.
Yep, we don't pay. Ox pays. Ox gets it fixed for us. Joe at the auto shop says Ox Car Care pays them directly, and there's no complicated paperwork. Ox is A+ rated, with already millions of dollars paid out in claims.
Right. They handled our claim from start to finish, unlike those other companies. Good call. The last thing we need is an unexpected car repair bill this holiday. The only thing now is, which pie is Aunt Martha making?
Drive with absolute peace of mind this holiday season. Call Ox Car Care for your free quote. 800-296-3315. Don't get stuck with a major car repair bill. Call Ox today. 800-296-3315. 800-296-3315 or oxcarcare.com.
Jane, do you know this one? Can you name the artist here? As I segue into a little yacht rock on a Friday, here we go.
You're looking kind of lonely, girl. Would you like someone new to talk to? Oh, yeah.
Oh, right. You know this one? Fred, you know this, don't you?
I'm feeling kind of lonely, too, if you don't mind.
Dr. Hook.
Dr. Hook.
Dr.
Hook.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I bring it up because I'm so excited about this interview this afternoon. And I told Fred this too. You know what happens? And I'm being honest about this, and I don't know why this happens.
Two things happen. Here's your first thing that's going to happen.
The first thing that happens is I get excited about the interview, and then I don't do as good an interview because I'm so excited about it, right?
Yeah,
so there's a documentary called Yacht Rock that is on Max. I actually watched it this morning. And Garret Price, who's the director, is going to join us at 5:25. Unless you're going to tell me he canceled, Fred.
No. I was going to say that's the second fear. years that'll cancel.
Right. Well, that does happen. It
Yeah.
usually happens with rock stars, not movie directors,
Oh, okay.
if we're being honest, music people. But this is a fascinating documentary, Jane. And
How
I
do
think
you spell it?
just like yacht.
Oh,
Rock.
as in the boat.
Yeah,
yacht.
right.
Okay.
Because they go to the origins of why it's now called yacht rock, which I was unfamiliar.
I'm totally unfamiliar.
There was this series, a web series, right around 2004, 2005, that kind of made fun of the genre. And that's kind of where the tag came from. But one of the things that's interesting is, like, they feature Steely Dan is featured a lot in this because there's a lot of cross-pollination of artists, if you will. And on this song in particular here, I mean, they auditioned on Peg 7 guitarists to do this solo. And then Walter Becker and Donald Fagen finally picked one because they were so meticulous. But when Garret called Donald Fagen, Walter Becker died several years ago. So he calls Donald Fagen to be a part of this project, Jane, and listen to how it goes here.
Hello, Mr. Fagen.
Yeah, this is he.
Yeah, hi. This is Garret. I'm the one making this yacht rock documentary.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so I've been talking to a lot of people that have played with you and Steely Dan over the years, and I was wondering if you'd sit down with me and talk about your music and this genre.
And what genre is that?
Yacht rock.
Oh, yacht rock. Well, I tell you what. Why don't you go yourself?
It's just classic. Listen.
I think Donald Fagen hung up on me.
Garret says, I think Donald Fagen hung up. That's actually how the movie closes, not really spoiling anything. They don't interview Donald Fagen or anyone from, well, that's not true. They interview one of the producers from Steely Dan, but it is an excellent.
Did they view that as a slight that they were considered yacht rock?
No, I think a lot
rock?
of, look, here's the great thing about it. There's a strong St. Louis connection, as I mentioned the last time. Michael McDonald is essentially the star of this documentary. And yeah, I think a lot of these artists, and you're looking at people
But they were so popular.
They were, and it was all considered at the time soft rock, or what my
Breezy.
format was adult contemporary, light rock, they called it.
And they took offense to that?
Well, no, but what happened in the 2000s is when people started calling it yacht rock because of that comedy series. This is what Garret is going to explain. Then people were like, wait a second, we were just doing our music thing. Why are you calling it yacht rock? But look, Kenny Loggins, Christopher Cross, Michael McDonald, they all kind of say, look,
That's
we
what
get
we
it.
were.
Right,
And it was
we get it.
And you know what? And people liked it. I loved their music.
One of my favorite parts of the movie. This is amazing. So I'll do this real quick, and I'm going to do this with Garret too. But this is anybody know who this is here? That is Deep Purple and Richie Blackmore on guitar, right? So Deep Purple, hard rock band, is in New Orleans, and Richie Blackmore gets sick. And you know who fills in for Richie Blackmore on guitar? This guy. No, that was the wrong one. Wait a second. You know what? I labeled something wrong there. This guy. Christopher Cross filled in for Richie Blackmore on guitar. That's kind of mind-blowing, but it's a really good movie, and we'll talk to the director at 5:25. There's some movement in the Danny Penny case that I'm very confused about this afternoon, and Phil Holloway is going to join us right after 5 o'clock. But the jury is very deadlocked, and the judge is not calling a mistrial at this point, but the jury's been deadlocked on the manslaughter charge. So, Jane, I still don't know if I completely understand that. He ditched the manslaughter charge, but he says they have to focus on a homicide charge. So that seemingly is a higher threshold, right? Which could favor Danny Penny because, I don't know. I'm still confused by the way that this is kind of unfolding.
I guess they deadlocked on manslaughter. So it goes back up to, because the judge said you are not going to get criminally negligent, which is just sort of the lowest level. So it seems to me that the judge is not calling a mistrial, but the standard of proof is going up. If homicide is the only thing that's
and that could favor Danny Penny's acquittal.
Yes.
Right.
Because if they're deadlocked on manslaughter, they're certainly they may just acquit on homicide.
Okay, so do we know if they're still deliberating this afternoon?
I don't know. I haven't seen anything. Lately.
I haven't seen that the jury's out. So.
Well, we do have Phil Holloway after 5:07, so we'll get the very latest on that. By the way, Paul Hall's coming up here in our next segment with Common Guy Films. We'll talk some entertainment as we head into the weekend. He's got a bunch of new releases, some Christmas stuff as well. There's a movie about Jane that's called Night Bitch, which is opening. I think that's
that's right up my alley. What's that on?
Right, so that movie is. Did you watch the trailer for Night Bitch?
No, but it sounds fascinating.
Amy Adams. It looks hilarious. It really, really looks funny.
And I
she
would
becomes
love that.
she's a middle-aged housewife who thinks she's becoming a dog. Now, I think that sounds crazy, but if you watch the trailer, it looks phenomenally funny. So we'll find out from
into that.
Paul coming up here in just a few minutes. We have Cusumano on sports. Ethan Hanifer is here. Sue is off today. Sue's off for a very good reason, and I can't say why. But on Monday or maybe next week, she will share with you why she's off. Fred, don't look nervous. I'm not going to blow anything, okay? But Ethan's
I'll stop
here.
him. I'll
Usually
stop him. I'll throw something at his head.
Usually when Sue's not here, especially on a Friday, Jane might do Sue's News or
I
Fred.
know, but Ethan took
Ethan's
over.
taking it over, right?
So,
Sure am.
Are you
Ethan?
ready?
Bring it on,
All right, here we go.
These allegations are deeply concerning.
Does the president have any comment?
We're not going to comment.
It's not clear messaging.
And now, Sue's News. Brought to you by Sue.
Except it's not. It's brought to you by Ethan today.
That's right.
So this is my second time now doing Ethan's News, and the last time that I did it, it was probably a month ago
yeah.
or so, close to, and I discussed this story about Warner Brothers announcing that they were going to be selling 10 replica Batmobile tumblers for $3 million a piece, and these were, identical replicas pretty much
I remember
to
that.
the Dark Knight trilogy Batmobile. Well,
And then somebody bought it, like some celebrity was going to buy one of those, right?
And it came out earlier this week that Bengals quarterback Joe Burrow
That's it.
bought a $3 million Batmobile. These things are almost direct replicas of this thing. Now, the only problem with this is that Joe's not going to be able to take this to games. They're not street legal, so I'm not really sure what you can do with it. Except just look at it, and it's almost those things. One of those things where you're like, I'm bored with my money,
Well,
so I'm going to buy a Batmobile.
If you're an NFL quarterback and you're making, what does he make? Probably 30 a year or something like that?
He makes a ridiculous amount of money.
So that's like, maybe $300 to you and I, and he's got a Batmobile. It's going to be a big
So, I guess you
party
park
piece.
that. Yeah, you park that in your driveway and say, "Dudes, come on over and look at my Batmobile."
It probably looks pretty cool for the kids at Halloween time, I have to imagine, or something.
The other thing it does for Joe Burrow is it takes a little of the edge off of the ridiculous dye job that he did over the summer to his hair when he came out like a blonde and looked like an idiot. So this helps out a little bit.
You know what? I agree with you.
Oh,
that
was
that
ridiculous.
Well, it's just foolishness.
He looked extremely stupid, but hey, it hasn't affected his play. He's been phenomenal this year,
He
even though the Bengals have sucked.
He doesn't.
It really is an incredible story. That guy has put up some MVP type numbers, and they keep losing because they have a terrible defense.
They lead the league in passing yards. Jamar Chase leads the league in receiving yards, and they're 4-8. I mean, it is amazing. They've averaged,
weird.
I think they've averaged 33 points per game their last 3
By the
games.
way, some of the mock drafts, you don't know what's going to happen, but some of the mock drafts have Luther Burden III going to Cincinnati next year.
Oh, boy, would that be fun.
Yeah, right?
Well, it looks like Joe Burrow's not going to stop getting sacked then. All right, next one here. We have a little bit of music for this. In 1986, Europe went number 1 on the UK singles chart for this classic. What'd you say?
Hit the wrong button.
Oh,
but
there it
you
is.
go. I'm a little discombobulated here, maybe because Sue's not here, but I do remember this.
Great.
I don't think it was great.
Oh, it's awesome.
I mean, we had Asia before this, right? And then Europe had to come out. I don't remember much about this group. Was this a super group or not? Were there members of other?
One-Hit Wonder?
So Europe became,
Whoa.
what I have on them is they became only the second Swedish act to score a UK number 1. And the song reached number 1 in 25 countries. And apparently, I didn't know this, the song's lyrics were inspired by David Bowie's song Space Oddity. But this is the only song I really know by Europe. But sure, it sure was a banger even as a kid growing up. This was the song.
Yeah.
So judgy.
I'm looking at the members here, and I guess I don't think we knew any of these people beforehand. Joey Tempest, John Norum, John Levin, Mick McKaylee, Ian Hogland. Yeah, there you go, Europe. But they sold 10 million copies of this record, so it was a pretty big hit back in the day.
This was the song when you were as a 10-year-old, you're faking your WWE matchup. This is what you're turning on as your intro walking into through the basement, though.
Is this you said the second Swedish group?
That's what I have, yeah.
To hit
only the second Swedish
the
act
ABBA
to
would be
score.
the
I was going to say,
ABBA,
ABBA's got to be the only one.
Right. Well, there you go. How about that? As we continue moving on in Ethan's news today, back in 1884,
Sue doesn't keep continuously billing it as Sue's News as we go along, so she doesn't just keep bringing it back to herself. It's really about the audience. Ethan says the guy who always makes it about himself.
Right.
I'm just teasing you.
There was a point in that I was like, interesting. This is interesting information here.
Yeah, you are. You know what? You do get self-awareness points for that.
Thank you.
1884. Someone can do the math on how many years ago that was. The Washington Monument. The construction for it was completed. And this was actually an interesting project because the monument...
I'm not sure, but I think that would be 140 years, and I can do that one quite simply, couldn't I? Okay, thank you.
That's about right.
Well, just because 1984 was 40 years ago. It's the simple math. I can't do much beyond that, believe me.
Well, that's only because that's when you graduated from...
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, 83, yes.
Yeah.
So the construction for the Washington Monument actually began about 30 years earlier, and then it stopped for a little while, and at some point they came to the decision that it was going to be finished, and it was going to be honoring both, of course, the first president of the United States and the land, of course, which it is on, Washington, D.C. 36,000 blocks of marble and granite stacked 555 feet in the air. The monument was the tallest structure in the world at the time of its completion in December of 1884.
I've never been to the actual monument. I've certainly seen it on my trips to D.C. Have you been, Fred? Of course.
Oh,
You've been
yeah,
everywhere.
lots of times. In fact, my son Noah has his soccer games on the field right in front, on the national yard there, right in front of the
So can I ask a stupid
so
question?
if the ball hits the monument, it's out of bounds.
But is the monument, is there like a museum or anything that's associated with it, like the arch or anything like that?
No.
Or is it just the monument?
No,
It's
not
not that
really.
that's not enough.
I like to
I've
ride
just
my
never been
bike
there.
around there.
Now you can go up into an elevator and go to the top
You can,
also.
right.
So I'm not sure if there's something at the base
Okay.
or not. We'd been outside of
I
it, but
know
we
of.
had never been up to the top of it. But yeah, over 800,000 people visit the monument each year. Okay, next one. We have some audio for this one too. Happy birthday to, you either love him or you hate him, Johnny Manziel, the former Texas A&M legendary quarterback and Heisman Trophy winner, turns 32 today. And listen, he provided college football with some of the most exciting memories, both on and off the field. And last year, Netflix released a documentary on Johnny Football as a part of their Untold series, which revealed loads of information about some of those off-field antics. You got to listen to this clip where Manziel and his agent discuss him avoiding taking a drug test at the NFL Combine.
This was a great documentary.
It was a great
I highly recommend,
documentary.
even if you don't like Johnny Manziel.
I actually liked him more after
right,
after
exactly.
I saw it.
Here's a good clip, though.
I was really, really good until the week before the Combine in Indy, and I finally just broke. I didn't remember much of the night. I woke up in a hotel room and kind of didn't know how I got there. I didn't know going into Indy if I was really going to be able to pass a drug test.
He's clean the whole time before then.
The only thing I had really been told was if you fail a drug test at the Combine, you're going to go from a first-round pick to maybe undrafted.
They're going to drug test you day 2 here. He's like, EB, I've been watching the NFL Combine. I'm coming to the Combine. I say, no, you're not. We're not risking this, so we compromise. I call Paul and Michelle. I'm like, okay, you are checking yourself into the hospital, Paul, with
That being his
heavy
parents.
heart, so that Johnny can divert and come to the Combine for 12 hours so that it doesn't look weird, and put him on a plane down to see Dad, who is in the hospital. I'm so sorry, but we'll reschedule these interviews. That was my strategy. And Paul's like, okay, Michelle, you're going. And like, she's crying. I knew he would do this. I'm like, he goes, I've been passing these tests at A&M for a while, which I come to find out on my own. It was their like 4-string backup quarterback that was pissing for him at A&M.
I love that.
Is
That
that
was a great
insane?
story. It
I
was.
mean-
And that really did happen. I mean, that was the excuse that they made, right? I mean, the dad did check into a hospital, or they acted like it happened.
It really is. Like, it was very fascinating, but it was really sad because Johnny Manziel stormed onto the scene out of nowhere. He beat Alabama at Alabama, which back then did not happen. Very talented, and it's just really sad how drugs got a hold of him, and he could have been a real talent in
But
the
I
NFL.
also think that he was like, I'm not sure he ever really wanted to go that way. I mean, I think he was sort of like, I'm not sure I wanted to. I don't know. It seemed like to me that he sort of wanted to just be a dude.
No, I think that's definitely a fair point, and there's plenty of other stuff in there that I think also affirms that, Jane. It's just a little bit sad when you see that kind of
talent.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sure he still has plenty of dough from that Netflix documentary. All right, we're going to go ahead and wrap up here with the random fact of the day. I don't know. I was going to say in Ethan's news, but then, Mark got me all self-conscious there. A Jiffy is actually a unit of time. It's 1/100th of a second. So when people say back in a jiffy, that actually technically means they'll be back in 1/100th of a second, if you take that literally.
So they're an Incredible.
I guess so.
Oh, there's the second reference to The Incredibles. I love Lamping got a great reference
He
during
did.
the Roundtable as well.
He
That
did.
was very unique. All right, Ethan, thank you for wrapping up. What was it called again?
A jiffy.
No, what was the whole segment called?
Oh, Ethan's
Oh,
News.
that was it. I forgot. We're coming back
Easy.
with Paul Hall.
And start sharing the night together. Whoa. Yeah. Sharing the night together. Whoa. Yeah. Sharing the night together.
Dependable traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
You got 40 really slowing down now westbound from Kings Highway past Inner Belton and Lindbergh, and the Inner Belt's also backed up as a result of this to around Ladue Road. Eastbound 40 crawling through Chesterfield with delays from 340 out to 141. Now 70, you got problems. Northbound up from the stand span into exit 247 of Grand Avenue, you got a crash there, so traffic's really backed up. You see that in the Cordell and Cordell domestic litigation traffic camera, and 44 is also backed up southbound to 40. You got a lot of traffic on southbound 55 to Mount Pleasant after exit 204 for Broadway and again through St. George and exit 199 for Rivas Barracks Road, and all the bridges to and from Illinois looking good at the moment. I'm Ian Stark, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
Are you worried about the state of the economy? Concerned about market crashes and rising inflation wiping out your savings? At Noble Gold Investments, we understand your fears and have a solution. Call us today at 1-888-403-1050. Imagine safeguarding you and your family with a tangible asset that has stood the test of time. Gold. With Noble Gold Investments, you can diversify your portfolio and protect your wealth from economic turmoil. Our team will guide you through the process, ensuring you make informed decisions that best suit your needs. Call Noble Gold Investments today at 1-888-403-1050. That's 1-888-403-1050. The future is uncertain. Take control now. Call 1-888-403-1050.
Past performance may not be indicative of future results. Investing in precious metals, including gold, involves risks. Consult with your tax attorney or financial professional before making an investment decision.
Hey, if you're looking for a beautiful, state-of-the-art, high-quality, really, really special new independent living and assisted living facility, it's right here in Weldon Spring, not too far from Progress West Hospital, next to Persimmon Woods Golf Course. New Perspective Senior Living. They would love to have you over for a free lunch and take a tour of the facility. They have an amazing memory care facility as well. It's a brand new company. Well, not a new company overall, but a new company into Missouri. They're based in Minnesota, and they have a great philosophy and a beautiful location, real easy access to 6440, great dining and menu experiences, really awesome common areas. They got a pickleball court that's going to be put up across the street, I am told, on good authority. And if you or a family member or a friend is in need of a great facility here, you should check out npseniorliving.com. N as in Nancy, P as in Paul, seniorliving.com. They even have a state-of-the-art AI fall detection program, which is pretty impressive as well. So if you're ready to take the next step or just take a tour, head on over to New Perspective Senior Living and the website npseniorliving.com. New Perspective Senior Living in Weldon Spring.
Prescription products require completion of an online consultation with an independent healthcare provider and are only available if prescribed. Subscription required. Additional restrictions apply. See website for more details and safety information.
Did you know that men across the country are getting their ED meds at TriRexMD.com and saving thousands of dollars? TriRexMD.com has FDA-approved ED meds and is now offering sample packs. Listen to what guys are saying about TriRexMD.com.
My partner thinks that I am a rock star.
I felt like a young man again. My wife is definitely much happier.
I walk a little taller when I'm using the product, knowing what the results are going to be.
Because it is effective, I say I'm on a second honeymoon.
It's literally life-changing.
Visit TriRexMD.com. Your consultation is free, there's no copays, no doctor office visits, and your shipping is always free. You can now access a 30-day sample pack at TriRexMD.com with generics, if appropriate. Visit TriRexMD.com right now to get your sample pack. That's TriRexMD.com.
97.1 on the Odyssey app on your phone. The easiest way to listen when you don't have a radio. For everything in the news.
Your home for conservative talk.
The Odyssey app. 97.1 FM Talk.
St. Louis's home for conservative talk.
You're listening to The Mark Reardon Show.
My Maria.
A little Brooks and Dunn here on a Friday afternoon. Jane, we're kind of keeping an eye on the Danny Penny case, and my friend Phil Holloway, who's a Fox News contributor, he's down in Atlanta, is going to break some of this down because some of the activities in that courtroom with the judge have been a little confusing. They've thrown out the manslaughter charge. He wants them to focus on what's called the criminally negligent homicide charge, right?
Correct, which it carries like 4 years instead of the manslaughter, which carries like 12. I think he wants a verdict because in the defense, obviously, they objected. They said, we don't want you to get rid of the higher charge because they don't think that the jury can get there. So
clearly they couldn't because they were deadlocked. So the option for the judge would be, mistrial. And he said, nope, we want to get a verdict on one of these charges. We want a verdict.
And so what he did was he sent him home early and said, so they're just basically down to one count.
Yeah. Well, we'll keep you posted on that. And Phil Holloway is going to join us after the top of the hour. Paul Hall is here with us from Common Guy Films to talk some movies and entertainment this weekend. How are you this afternoon?
I'm doing well, Mark. I'm on the Mark Reardon Show, and I'm glad to be joining the Mark Reardon Show today. Ethan should not worry about that.
As many name drops as you can get in there. Absolutely, Paul Hall.
Yeah, I know how to work it with you.
Hey, how would you like to start? Did you hear what I called this one? Night Bitch, the story of Jane Duker.
So awesome.
Let's hear a clip.
If you want to get
He's super cute. Do you just love getting to be home with him all the time? Yeah, I do. I love it.
Nobody in this family can clean their own butts. No. If you wake him up, I will rip your throat out.
Okay, for what it's worth. I would kill to stay home with him every day.
All I know is I watched the trailer to this last weekend, and I thought it looked very, very promising. The whole premise sounds extremely weird, Paul, but what'd you think here?
It's wickedly funny, and I, of course, being a male, have never given birth, but I can imagine what I've seen on screen is a lot of what women go through in that period after having a baby. Life has changed, and many times the guy goes away to work and the woman stays home and has some feelings built up that definitely they want to get out. So those come out at night with Amy Adams as she becomes, as she's called in the movie, a night bitch. And kind of you go back and forth between her as a dog and running with the dogs in the community and just doing weird things. But you know what? It all works. And it works because Amy Adams is so talented to watch on screen. I don't know if I could love her more after seeing her in this. It's one of those films that half the people that see it after I'm recommending it here are going to go, you're crazy. And this is not something I like. And the other half are going to be like, you know what? This actually told a story without kind of smacking you over the head with a story and having to tell you every piece. I like Night Bitch a lot. It really tells a good story.
You can compare me to Amy Adams any day of the week.
Well, the whole concept of the film does sound nutty, but if you can execute something like this appropriately and you have someone as talented as Amy Adams, I've been a fan of hers for a long time.
I'm a huge fan of hers.
Yeah, that's really good. What else do you want to cover here this afternoon, Paul?
Wait, is that in theaters?
That one is in theaters as of
yes.
today.
It is in theaters.
Yep. Also in theaters today, there's a new movie called The Order with Jude Law. Now, this is, I don't know if you have anything on this one, Mark.
I do.
On every revolution, someone has to fire the first shot. I had a question about some flyers I keep seeing. White power. Is that the Aryan Nation?
You know what my problem is with every fanatic?
You have to have somebody to blame for your life.
This was in June. A bomb went off at a synagogue in Boise. That's just the beginning. Beginning of what?
The Order.
Inspired by a true story. FBI agent Terry Husk has kind of got away from the big city. He's going to live a easier life. Only finds out it's not necessarily easier going from the big city to, the Pacific Northwest in the middle of nowhere where an FBI agent hasn't been in some time. Bank robberies are going on all around him, but there's a more nefarious idea behind them with great character actors like Nicholas Hoult, Ty Sheridan, Journey Smollett, and others. This is a film that feels in a lot of ways ripped from headlines because it is. It's ripped from headlines from years past of kind of that cat and mouse game between the FBI and the bad guys, whoever they are in this case. You'll have to figure that out from watching it. I think from a suspense thriller, kind of adult drama type of thing, this is one of the better ones to come down the pike, and it's a surprising one. I did not see this coming. But definitely check it out. That's in theaters as well, starting today.
You said that's based on a true story. That's interesting. I didn't know that one.
Yeah, it's based on true events. I don't know how much of it's told, how much of it isn't. He goes toe to toe with white supremacist leaders that you've seen in the headlines back in the day, from Richard Butler to others. It's really an interesting tale.
Nicholas Hoult. I starred in a movie with Nicholas Hoult. You're aware of that, Paul. Jane, did you know that I starred in a movie with Nicholas Hoult? It's called Warm Bodies. It's a kind of a take on it's a zombie Romeo and Juliet story. Unfortunately, my role got cut from the film. My agent didn't do a very good job, but I played a zombie in that film. I really did. I was a zombie extra on the movie, and it was a lot of fun. But I love Nicholas Hoult.
Did they call it the Mark Reardon show or the Mark Reardon appearance on the Mark Reardon show?
They don't do that, but here's the thing, more relatable for people, because Nicholas Hoult got known because he was like a kid, a young character in one of those Hugh Grant movies, right?
Oh, yeah, you know what? And he was. Now that you say that, I forgot all about that. But, yeah, he's been around the block a couple times. It was About a Boy.
Yeah, About a Boy. That's right. Yeah.
But I remember that.
But you've seen him in a lot of things these days.
Yeah,
Mad Max, Fury Road, and X-Men. He's been all around the block, and he's even got a role in Nosferatu, which we'll be talking about in a couple weeks. And he was in a movie just a couple weeks ago with Clint Eastwood called Juror Number 2. He shows up in there as well.
You were kind of telling me that's one that you think deserves a little attention. It was weird because Warner Brothers decided to not really release that movie widely.
Yeah, it kind of snuck under the radar. When it came out a couple weeks ago, it just kind of went under the radar. Not everybody had it, a very not so wide release for it, but it's a real different tale about life for a juror who shows up for jury duty only to find out that this might have something more to do with him than meets the eye. And they tell you that right up front. So I'm not giving you anything out of turn. And we basically work backwards from knowing that up front instead of the typical way you'll do a film like that, where it's like, oh, did he have something to do with it? Did he not? Let's find out. And you guess all along. In this case, you know where you're starting from, and then you work back to figure out how it goes.
Awesome. What else you got this weekend?
In theaters, if you missed a couple other things, Y2K is opening. You can go back to that period of time where everything in the world was going to fall apart. And for those of you looking for a holiday movie in theaters, go out and see For King and Country concert film, The Little Drummer Boy. If you've never seen For King and Country in concert, I've seen them a number of times. The percussion sections in this group are something that is to be seen. You will not understand how big and how bold their percussions are, even on the Little Drummer Boy song. This is in theaters. It's a full-length concert film for, I think it's going to be only for a little minute at a time. So check that out as of today as well.
And that's, I can't remember which small bone that I interviewed, but Joel and Luke, that was the movie. Yep. They made something about their lives, like the semi-autobiographical movie about their family. What was the movie called? I forgot.
Yeah, they've made a couple different movies, from Priceless a couple years ago that starred Joel, and it was actually directed by Luke. And the one that was about their lives
Unsung Hero
was Unsung Hero.
Yeah, right. And I had one of the small bones I had on, and might even appear as a best of here over the Christmas time. So, Paul, I don't know if you heard me talking, but I'm very excited. In the next hour, I'm going to have the director of Yacht Rock, which is on Max right now, Garret Price, on. And I loved this documentary. And Michael McDonald from the Doobie Brothers and Beyond is heavily featured. And he's a Ferguson native here in the St. Louis area. So that's kind of fun. The other thing that I have been watching, and I know Jane's a fan, and I think you are too, I finally, a couple of weeks ago, started Bad Sisters on Apple TV+.
Oh, I love it.
I finished the first season, and I really liked it a lot. Yeah. And then I thought, because I knew the second season had started here just a couple of weeks ago, I'm like, well, that sort of has a conclusion. The first season does. How do you take this into season 2? I'm 2 episodes in. I think they've pulled it off. I don't know if it'll lose its momentum, but what a good start for season 2.
They're missing a big character, so I thought, without that character, this may not may not work. But I'll be darned. I'm caught up. I love it.
Yep.
Those girls
I'm fortunate
are
enough to see out front of it, so stay with it. Let's just say stay with it. I'm just going to leave it there and say you'll enjoy the rest of it as well.
Let's be honest about something here. These are the shows really. The sophomore jinx is real. It's tough to execute the second season of a lot of these shows, and that's why sometimes the third season is even better on some shows. But I'm really impressed. And Sharon Horgan, who is one of the actresses in this as well, who plays the older sister, is also one of the creators and writes, and I think even maybe directs some of it.
And it's dark comedy. I mean, it is funny. I mean, so I mean, it's very serious and it's very funny and it's very hard to pull off, especially.
That's very adult, which is nice.
It is.
It's an adult series like this that usually you try to dumb it down for network television.
Right.
But because it's on Apple, you can throw in all the bells and whistles.
By the way, can I tell you something else?
And it's mainly women, which is
But
very rare.
You know what else I noticed here in the second season? It's an anti-woke show. Like, they make fun of some of the woke stuff.
Oh, it's
right?
Yes, and it is. They're great. They really are. I love all the girls have different characters.
It's Bono's Eve Hewson, who's Bono's daughter,
Yeah,
who was
and she's
in
great
the
in
really
it.
good Nicole Kidman. What was the damn show she was in earlier this year as well?
And of course, we saw it.
But she was great.
Yeah.
Yes.
In this as
Yeah.
well. I'm forgetting the other
Well,
show.
I gotta leave you with a couple things
Is
before I get out of here
Okay,
today.
do.
There's a couple more cool series over on Netflix. One is called The Madness with Coleman Domingo, and it's absolutely fabulous. It will twist your mind beyond all sorts of reality, and it again feels very ripped from the headlines because it's totally a man who's got some opinions. He's on a talk show on CNN and gets himself in the middle of controversy. Let's just say that
Is
might.
this the story of Scott Jennings? I don't know. It sounds like it. Wait, I do have a clip.
I think I'm getting framed for murder. You think I'm making this up?
We're not going to end up arresting you for this, are we?
I was in the wrong place at the wrong time. I'm black. I'm on TV. I was there. I'm walking around with a bullseye on my back. Is murder of a notorious white man. The man was the Jesse Jackson of white supremacy.
Okay, there you go.
Wow.
And that's out on Netflix. And Black Doves is the other one with Keira Knightley doing a series over on Netflix as well. This is kind of a behind-the-scenes spy type game. So if you love those spy thriller type things, that's a good one. The Madness is a good one. I still recommend The Day of the Jackal over on Peacock. And it just seems like we're getting a number of these programs right now. It's almost too much TV to have to watch.
It is. I was just going to say that. It is overwhelming
Lioness?
sometimes.
Are you on Lioness?
I watched a couple episodes in the first
Love
season. I didn't like it.
No, it's great. I love Lioness. I'm sorry. And Cross is really good.
So
Cross is fantastic.
That's on
It
Amazon
is.
Prime, right?
Oh, my God. And I was wondering about that guy. He was in Leverage, and as him being the star character. I loved that show.
Don't wonder. He's really good.
He
and
is.
of course, because Mark, you requested it, the Christmas film of the week this week for you. There's Our Little Secret over on Netflix with our girl Lindsay Lohan in the lead role.
Oh.
You know you can't miss it. And I know you watched the Chiefs movie. That's going to air again tomorrow night if you missed it.
Wait, which one?
Over there. The Kansas City Chiefs love story that was filmed down in Kansas City. Andy Reid was at the premiere a couple weeks ago on Hallmark, I believe it is.
Yeah.
I don't believe I'll be watching. As much as a fan I am. You must be confusing me with producer emeritus Dave Klein. He's the Hallmark Channel guy. He loves Hallmark movies.
Don't
and
judge.
yes, this is a true title. Nutcrackers is over on Hulu with Ben Stiller in the lead role. I can't make these up. Maybe one day we'll do a Christmas movie or not, because some of these I can't make up. And to say I actually sat through at least some of them, I hate that.
Is Nutcrackers pretty bad? Is it bad?
I have no comments.
Okay, all right, there we go. Paul, tell folks where they can find your reviews.
CommonGuy.com.
Have a great week. We'll
or
talk
on
next
the Mark
Friday.
Burden Show.
Thank
every
you.
Friday on
Name
the Mark
drop
Burden
as much
Show.
as possible.
And,
I always appreciate
we'll get out of here.
that.
See
All
ya.
right. Thank you. Cusumano's coming up next.
Dependable traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
You got big problems on 70 as you head northbound from the stand span up towards Grand Avenue next to 247. That is due to a crash that I can see on the Cordell domestic litigation traffic camera. And you also have delays on 40 heading eastbound to Chesterfield from 340 to 141. And you also got your westbound problems on 40 from Kings Highway past Cedar Belt and Lindbergh. And your belt backs up as a result because it just can't get on to 40 because of this. In fact, those backups go as far back, I would say, as Ladue Road. Watch out for some westbound delays on 44th and Meacham Park and at Lindbergh. You also got a lot of traffic on southbound 55 to Mount Pleasant after exit 204 for Broadway, and again through St. George and exit 199 by Rivas Barracks Road. No problems on the bridges to and from Illinois. I'm Ian Stark, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
Make holiday magic this year with something beautiful and timeless from Diamonds Direct. A stunning eternity band, a pair of classic diamond stud earrings, something new and eye-catching from a world-class designer, or maybe you're looking for that perfect engagement ring or a fabulous timepiece. At Diamonds Direct, we have the perfect gifts for the season, starting at around $500. Come and let our experts help you pick out that headliner gift. Or for some fabulous ideas, see the online seasonal gift guide now at DiamondsDirect.com. You can even chat now with a virtual assistant for the ultimate convenience. Whether you connect online or in person, you're guaranteed to get the extraordinary value, ironclad warranties, and white glove service Diamonds Direct is known for. And to help make your purchase even more affordable, we've got special financing so you can spread out your payments. Get directions, details, special showroom hours, and our holiday gift guide now at DiamondsDirect.com. Diamonds Direct. Your love, our passion.
Running a small business takes endurance, determination, and the right support to reach your goals. And MasterCard is here to help fuel that journey in a fast-paced digital world. With innovative tools and resources, we're here to guide businesses every step of the way digitally. Because when small business wins, everyone wins. Let's power up our communities one small business and one step at a time. Keeping the community running strong, priceless.
Wesley is a truck driver.
I drive a truck, and I love what I do.
A truck driver with IRS troubles.
They told me I owed them $43,000.
It got really bad.
Quite a few letters in the mail. They were talking about wage garnishment, coming after my house, my car. Yeah, they don't play around. I seriously thought that I was going to lose everything.
One sleepless night, Wesley finally made a call to Optima Tax Relief at 2 a.m.
Kind of figured I'd get a machine, but I didn't. I actually got to talk to an actual person in the middle of the night.
He found just what he was looking for.
Oh, they were great people. You need a team of people that know what they're doing. Optima Tax, they know what they're doing.
Optima Tax Relief came through with flying colors.
I saved an incredible amount of money. Happy don't even come close. I was absolutely overjoyed.
Take Wesley's advice.
If you're in any kind of trouble with the IRS, call Optima Tax Relief. Don't trust anybody else.
Call Optima for a free consultation. Call 800-987-6122. 800-987-6122. 800-987-6122.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
It's time for a $98 furnace tune-up.
446, this portion of the show is sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating and Air.
The Mark Cox Morning Show.
Jim Carafano, let's talk a little bit about Pete Hegseth.
I've known Pete for a very long time. I have all the confidence in the world that he would be a great Secretary of Defense.
The Mark Cox Morning Show.
On St. Louis's home for conservative talk. Mark Reardon on St. Louis's home for conservative talk.
Jane Duker hanging out with me on a Friday, as she often does. Unfortunately, Sue Thomas is off today. She will be back on Monday. I have Phil Holloway after the top of the hour. Phil, Fox News legal analyst, great friend of this show, and he'll talk about the latest in the Danny Penny case and beyond. Right now, Frank Cusumano on a Friday afternoon as we take you into the weekend, talking a little sports. Hello, Frank. How are you?
Mark, great to be with you. Things are great.
Where should we start? Where would you like? I'll say dealer's choice. Where would you like to start this afternoon?
How about Mizzou, Kansas on Sunday?
How about that? Because let me tell you something. I watched that game, and thankfully I missed the first half against California, but they looked like a real basketball team in the second half, Frank.
Mark, it was like Villanova in 1985 beating Georgetown. I believe Villanova shot 87%. Mizzou shot 85% in the second half. They missed 5 shots. They scored 63 points. It was spectacular. And Cal's not bad. Cal came in 6-1. So that was a game against a non-Jackson State kind of opponent where they looked great. That's the good news. Bad news is Kansas is going to come in ornery. Kansas, since they resumed this series, has beaten Mizzou 3 straight times by an average of 21 points. They start 4 seniors, 1 junior. They got a bunch of 1,000-point scorers in their lineup. I'm sure Bill Self is going to have them ready.
However, here's what I would say. I don't know if I'm glad about this or not. The same night that Mizzou beat California, they went down by double digits to Creighton, and it was a good game. Now, I would expect Mizzou's going to get their butts handed to them tomorrow. But look, I think what we're seeing, Frank, and we've talked about this here for a while, they've got to play together. And as they play more together, I saw some real continuity, especially the transition game looked fantastic the other night in the second half.
Yeah, they got a couple of really nice players. This Robinson, the point guard, was the best player on the floor with, I think it was 25 and 6. Mark Miller, the transfer from Duke, had a terrific game. And we know Tamar Bates is a really good player, too. So let's face it, Mark, we haven't had much to cheer about with Mizzou basketball. In fact, when I thought about it, that's the best I felt about Mizzou basketball in 1 year.
Oh, yeah.
Because they didn't win a game at the end of last season. They went 0-18 in the SEC. And then their last big victory was like a year ago against Wichita State. So they beat a good Cal team. And I think, at least it gave us some hope.
Yeah,
the other
well,
night.
look, that game was important because it gives you some confidence. Even if you lose the game tomorrow, you got Illinois and the bragging rights coming up. You get yourself set up for the conference season, and you have a pretty good record to start. And I think these guys are going to make a little noise. They're going to lose some games they're not supposed to, but I think they'll win some games that they're not supposed to as well. So I'm excited about the season. We had a pretty good football game last night between the Packers and the Lions. I'm not so sure it would have been as close if the Lions weren't so beaten up, and I'm a Packers fan, so I'm a little disappointed that they lost their second game to the Lions. But, man, Detroit's looking good. They're the number one team in the NFL right now, even above the Chiefs.
Yeah, I think, they're definitely the favorite to win the Super Bowl as we speak. But I tell you, that tandem of Montgomery and Gibbs, that's as dynamic as any tandem as I've seen in a long time. It's definitely the best in football right now. You got to remember, every time Gibbs touches the ball, he's averaging 6 yards a carry. It's like crazy. He's unbelievable. And then you factor in, the St. Louis angles, Jamison Williams and Sam Laporta. We call them the St. Louis Lions because they have, I think 5 or 6 players on the roster, including their great punter, Jack Fox. But I love the coach. I love the energy. And it'd be kind of cool for Detroit to win their first ever Super Bowl.
Let me say, I admitted something today to Kevin Wheeler, who's over on the other side of the building on KMOX. Kevin and I have been friends, and we've worked together for a long time. And maybe this is just because I'm getting a little soft in my older age, Frank, but I don't hold the animus that I once, held as a younger man for even like KU, because I hate KU, of course, right? But, can you really be jealous of them anymore because, they do their thing and Mizzou does their thing? But with Detroit, I can genuinely, now I don't want this to happen at the expense of the Packers, I can be happy for that franchise to go and try to win a Super Bowl because of everything they've gone through as a fan base in particular.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm with you 100%. And that coach, Dan Campbell, he's just so damn likable. Gosh, everything about him, the loyalty to his players, the passion, the positivity. He kind of reminds me of the Blues coach. Well, not altogether as we segue into that, but that's the best story in St. Louis sports as we speak. I mean, before they hired Jim Montgomery, they were 30th in offense in the NHL. Since they hired him, same roster, they're 7th in scoring. They have 9 points out of a possible 10 in the 5 games. And I'm telling you, he's all about positivity. He said as soon as he got here, look, I was an assistant coach here. I know a lot of these guys. There's a lot of talent in this room. He had them believing in themselves right away. And that victory last night against Calgary, who had won 6 in a row at home, is huge. It's now on to Edmonton. What a dramatically different feel we have about the Blues in just a 2-week time span.
Well, speaking of giving you hope, right?
Yes, hope.
I'd say, that's outstanding. They got 3 more games left in Canada, though, right, Frank?
2 more.
Okay.
Yeah, and Edmonton on Saturday, which will be difficult. But, look, we thought that if they could go on this Western Canada road trip and come away with 4 points, in the 4 games, they'd be in great shape. Well, they have now 4 points after 2 games. So it's just awesome to see. Did you hear what happened, too?
No.
After Colton Parayko scored the goal in overtime, there was a long review. I mean, it lasted like 5 or 6 minutes. And most of the Blues players were like in between the locker room and the bench waiting to find out if the game was over. Not Jim Montgomery. He said he was in his office having a slice of pizza because he knew it was a goal.
I love that.
Nice.
That is great.
That is a good story.
Let me quickly take you back to Mizzou just for a second because this was signing week, and I know that they lost a couple of guys that flipped, but I think that this was a hell of a recruiting class. I think it's ranked 19th. It's only 11th in the SEC, but I think Drink did pretty well here on this class, Frank.
He did. He got 10 4-stars, 19th in the class. They recruited from 10 different states. It worked out really well. He got the best player in the state of Missouri in Big Jack Lang from Eureka. 6'9", 285. And here's the big thing, Mark, is the portal opens on Monday, and one of the most intriguing quarterback prospects is Miller Moss, who, beginning of the season was actually a Heisman Trophy candidate. He had an up-and-down year, but there's nobody out there denying his talent. He's going to be at Missouri on Tuesday, I believe, and I've been texting with Brady Cook, and Brady's going to be one of the people taking them around. So they could really solve this quarterback position very quickly if they were to get Miller Moss to commit right away.
Now, is he the USC kid?
Yes, USC quarterback.
Interesting. All right, keep us posted on that. What's coming up on Sunday night, Frank?
Two cool things. One is a story on Marvin Barnes. The Spirits of St. Louis were the story in St. Louis for a long time. We went back in the archives, talked to some great people. It's going to be a fascinating story about one of the most fabulous basketball talents of all time. And then a story about a young softball female pitcher from the East Side who was going to celebrate the greatest day of her life, National Signing Day, but her mom got really sick. But the people at Barnes Jewish Hospital made this dream happen. You got to watch on Sunday night.
Oh.
You're going to tug at our heartstrings here for the holidays, Cusumano. I can tell.
Can I hear a Roll Tide?
Oh, gosh.
Just when you think we're gone.
Because you mean you snuck into the CFP?
I mean, come on. You don't think that these people want to make money off a Notre Dame Alabama game? I mean, come on.
I'm all for new
And
teams.
how about the hoop? The hoop, they're doing well in hoops, too.
Yeah, we don't care around here, though. Just because your daughter works with the athletic department at Alabama, we don't
She
care.
does,
We don't
so
roll Tide here around here.
I'm sorry.
Cusumano, have a great weekend. We'll talk on Monday.
Hey, guys, take care.
Jane, you have a great weekend as well, but I do want you to do something on your way home.
Yes.
Take a little longer. No, I think it'll time out okay. 5:25, Garret Price will be here. He's the director of this documentary we've been buzzing about here called Yacht Rock. A lot of people have seen it already. It's on HBO, airing on Max, which I don't know what the difference is between HBO and Max. It's the same entity, right?
It's
but
the
they
same.
still have a cable channel called HBO, but Max is the streaming platform. But this movie is fantastic, and a St. Louis guy who's from Ferguson.
Oh, I'm going to listen, and then I got to
Michael
watch
McDonald is a big star, and Garret Price, the director, is going to join us at 5:30. Plus, I have an audio cut of the day. Hey, we have Phil Holloway from Fox talking about the Danny Penny case and a whole lot more after 5. But Jane Duker, have a great weekend.
You too.
Great to see you.
She's gonna treat me right. Ooh, yeah, 17, baby. We've got it all sewn up. She fills my love cup.
Dependable traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
You got 40 still really pretty busy westbound from Kings Highway to Big Bend, and then eastbound by the Inner Belt to Richmond Heights. And the Inner Belt backs up because of this, because you can't get on to 40 because of all the people in front of you. So you're backed up all the way to around 340, and eastbound 40 also still slow, as it has been all afternoon through Chesterfield, with delays back from 340 to 141. Watch out for some westbound delays on 44 through Meacham Park into Lindbergh. I can see that on the Cordell domestic litigation firm traffic camera. And as for traffic on southbound 55, it's still out there to Mount Pleasant after exit 204 for Broadway, and again through St. George and exit 199 for Revis Barracks Road. No problems on the bridges at the moment. I'm Ian Stark, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
On the battlefield, there's a saying America's military men and women live by. Never leave a fallen warrior behind, ever. Off the battlefield, Wounded Warrior Project operates with the same goal. Wounded Warrior Project was created to help our men and women returning home with the scars of war, whether those scars are physical or mental. Wounded Warrior Project. We never leave a fallen warrior behind, ever. Learn more about what we do at woundedwarriorproject.org.
Are you a parent of a 2 to 8-year-old? Listen closely for an exciting offer, then head to abcmouse.com/radio to learn more. By now, you've probably heard of ABC Mouse.
ABC Mouse is like a little one-on-one teacher. It has helped her so much.
We're offering a promo at abcmouse.com/radio to try it for free for a month, then $14.99 per month until canceled. Go to abcmouse.com/radio to see this offer. That's abcmouse.com/radio. Actual ABC Mouse users compensate for their testimonials, sponsored by Age of Learning.
Make room under the tree for gifts at the top of their wish list. Power up the holidays with great deals on long-lasting tools. Find the perfect gift at your local Steel dealer or shop the Steel Holiday Gift Guide at SteelUSA.com.
Clint Black in concert. Clint Black, an incredible night featuring some of his greatest hits. Saturday, April 12th, 7 p.m., the Family Arena. Clint Black in concert. Special guests Ruby Lee and Emily Ann Roberts. On sale now at the Carroll House Furniture box office located at the Family Arena or Ticketmaster. Don't miss Clint Black.
It's time to raise a little hell. The Ozark Mountain Daredevils. Saturday, March 1st, the Family Arena. With special guests Molly Hatchet and the Georgia Satellites. This is the farewell tour of the Ozark Mountain Daredevils.
And keep your hands to yourself.
Tickets on sale now at the Carroll House Furniture box office, located at the Family Arena or Ticketmaster.
The T.R. Hughes Homes for the Holidays display and inventory sale is going on now through the rest of the year. Hi, I'm Jason Hughes with T.R. Hughes Homes, and we have several quick move homes ready for immediate move-in. Save up to $50,000 on a brand new move-in ready home in one of our 4 beautiful communities. Come see why T.R. Hughes is St. Charles and now Warren County's premier home builder. Move-in ready, up to $50,000 in savings just in time for the holidays. Visit trhughes.com for details. That's trhughes.com.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely on advertisements.
If you've been injured in a car wreck, you need the best. Onderlaw, voted 2023's best law firm in St. Louis. We know how to handle the insurance companies, and we'll make sure you're compensated for physical, emotional, and financial injuries. Let us make your case our cause. Car accident? Call Onderlaw today for a free review. 314 or 618-9000000. That's 314 or 618-9 all zeros.
KFTK FM Florissant. From the Underlaw Injury Lawyers, GetJim.com studio.
That's GetJim.com.
97.1 FM Talk. Always live on the free Odyssey app.
He's on the run. I'm Jack Callahan, Fox News. The search for the suspected killer of a healthcare CEO in New York on Wednesday is now nationwide. Fox's Tanya J. Powers explains.
NYPD Commissioner Jessica Tisch says the area of investigation is expanding.
We have reason to believe that the suspect or a person of interest may have left New York City.
NYPD officials say video shows the gunman leaving the scene of the shooting, riding a bike just blocks away to Central Park, then taking a cab to a bus depot where he entered but wasn't seen leaving. Law enforcement officials have said that the Greyhound bus that took him to New York originated in Atlanta.
The most serious charge against Marine veteran Daniel Penny for the subway chokehold death of Jordan Neely has been dismissed. The judge granting a motion by prosecutors to throw out the second-degree manslaughter charge after jurors twice told the judge they were hopelessly deadlocked on it.
Now he's sending jurors home for the weekend and telling them they'll come back to deliberate the lesser charge, criminally negligent homicide.
Fox's C.B. Cotton reports the conviction on the lesser charge could still land Penny 4 years in prison. Federal appeals court has upheld the law that requires the owners of TikTok to sell the app to investors not associated with the Chinese government by next month or be banned in the U.S. ByteDance said the law violated the First Amendment. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau issuing an order establishing government supervision over Google Pay. Google responding quickly with a lawsuit, calling the order a clear case of government overreach involving Google Pay, which they say is no longer provided in the U.S. The search for a Pennsylvania woman thought to have fallen into a sinkhole ends with the discovery of 63-year-old Elizabeth Pollard's body in an abandoned coal mine. Pennsylvania State Police says crews are now working to shore up that mine. The coroner will determine how Pollard died. America is listening to Fox News.
The holidays mean more travel, more shopping, more time online, and more personal info in more places that could expose you more to identity theft. But LifeLock monitors millions of data points per second. If your identity is stolen, our US-based restoration specialists will fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Don't face drained accounts, fraudulent loans, or financial losses alone. Get more holiday fun and less holiday worry with LifeLock. Save up to 40% your first year with promo code NEWS. Visit lifelock.com. Terms apply.
An official message from Medicare.
Medicare plans change from one year to the next. And this year, it's important for you to review your current coverage and compare all your options during Medicare open enrollment. Compare health plans, drug coverage, and costs. See if you can save some money, and don't forget to make sure your drugs are covered. Open enrollment ends December 7th. Visit Medicare.gov or call 1-800-MEDICARE.
Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation. Weather.
The official 97.1 FM Talk Weather Center forecast: sunshine, a few clouds for the afternoon. The high today 42. Clear, chilly night, low tonight 30. And then sunny, warmer day tomorrow, the high 55. Sun and clouds, a mild day on Sunday, the high 64. Partly sunny, looks like a nice day on Monday. Very mild afternoon, the high at 59. I'm Steve Williams for 97.1 FM Talk.
Prescription products require completion of an online medication consultation with an independent healthcare provider through the LifeMD platform and are only available if prescribed. Subscription required. Individual results may vary. Additional restrictions apply at lifemd.com. Read all warnings before using GLP-1s. Side effects may include a risk of thyroid C-cell tumors. Do not use GLP-1s if you or your family have a history of thyroid cancer.
Should GLP-1 weight loss medication like Wegovy and Zepbound cost hundreds of dollars? We don't think so. TryLifeMD.com helps provide insurance access to the leading GLP-1 medications. Visit TryLifeMD.com to get your free insurance benefits check and see your eligibility in minutes. Listen to Tara's story after losing 42 pounds.
You just take your shot. It doesn't feel like you're on a diet. What I wasn't expecting it to do was to shut off the food noise. I had gone from 237 to 195. This was life-altering, and if I can do it, I feel like anybody can do it.
Get started right now with your free insurance benefits check and see your eligibility for coverage in minutes at TryLifeMD.com. That's TryLifeMD.com.
Paid for by Christian Care Ministry.
So right now may be the perfect time for you to rethink how you pay for health care. And here's why. This time of year is decision time for a lot of people, but it's also when you can join MediShare and save even more than usual. For many families, joining MediShare means saving about $500 a month, which is a game changer for a lot of people, obviously. But what's more, MediShare members like it. Their satisfaction rate is 98%. Imagine that. And MediShare is a proven thing, too, for over 30 years. It's a Christian community of hundreds of thousands of people now. And here's the thing. If you join before December 15th and you mention the promo code SHARE, they'll waive your application fee, so you save even more right off the bat. I'll give you the number here in a second, but just call and you'll get a price within 2 minutes. And again, the deadline is December 15th, so call now. You'll save even more. Here's the number. 855-51-BIBLE. That's 855-51-BIBLE. 855-51-BIBLE.
Why do the national tax resolution firms need the tiny fine print at the bottom of all their TV ads? Hi, this is Lance Story with the Lance Story Law Firm. You don't hear fast-talking disclaimers in our ads because the claims we make are 100% transparent. The Lance Story Law Firm primarily focuses on one thing, IRS problems, and we're regulated by the Bar Association, and we have a AAA rating with the Better Business Bureau. IRS issues are serious legal issues. The Lance Story Law Firm has helped thousands of clients navigate the best resolution plans, and we tell you up front exactly how much it'll cost. Tax resolution law is all we do. So before you send money to some out-of-town, high-pressure salesperson, give us a call at the Lance Story Law Firm, located right here in St. Louis. Call today to schedule your free consultation with me, 314-260-6120, or visit LanceDruryLaw.com.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
If you're trying to sell a home, there's only one agent in town that I trust, Mark and Neil Gelman of eXp Realty. My friends Mark and Neil have the best system to connect you to the best qualified buyers, getting your home sold fast and for top dollar. 314-336-1991. Go to thegelmanteam.com.
We know you've got an interesting take on things. You can tell us by clicking the microphone button next to Listen Live when you're on the Odyssey app. Record a short message for us to hear when you tune into 97.1 on the Odyssey app. This hour of the Mark Reardon Show is sponsored by Gamma Tree Experts. Your trees deserve the best care. Call Gamma Tree Experts. Saying what you're thinking. Mark Reardon.
Friday evening, we still have a lot to cover in this hour. I'm very excited about Garret Price at the bottom of the hour. Garret is the director and the co-editor of Yacht Rock, the documentary that's on Max right now, and it is outstanding. I actually snuck it in and watched it this morning, and it features strong St. Louis presence with Michael McDonald. I don't think St. Louis is ever mentioned, but Michael McDonald, of course, from Ferguson. He's really the star of this documentary, and it's fantastic. So we'll hook up with Garret. I have some other political news of interest that we'll cover this hour, and I also have an audio cut of the day. But right now, we've been kind of tracking this Danny Penny case since it started, but certainly this afternoon we covered it on the Roundtable. Some confusing information coming out of that courtroom in New York City. The best person to explain it all, Phil Holloway, Fox News legal analyst, and, of course, a great friend of this program. Phil, how are you this afternoon?
Oh, we're doing great, buddy. I hope you are.
I am, but I'm a little confused as to what's happening right now and what the judge is telling the jury to do. It sounds like he wants a verdict. He doesn't want a mistrial, right?
Well, it's kangaroo court. That's what's going on. But look, the good news for Penny is that the top count one, which is the more serious of the charges, of course, this is the one that's predicated on this recklessness, this reckless disregard for human life, that kind of thing. That is now gone. The prosecutor actually dismissed it because the jury was hung, okay? So because they dismissed it, and they dismissed it over the objection of the defense, and I'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah.
Because they did it that way, they can never bring it back, okay? So the good news is that would be barred by double jeopardy because jeopardy attached when the jury was seated. Now, count 2, the reason they dismissed it, normally they're not supposed to get the jury's not supposed to get the opportunity to deliberate this count 2, which is a lesser included offense, and it's based on the lower standard of criminal negligence. They normally aren't allowed to even get to deliberate that unless they have found him not guilty on count
of the other
1.
charge, right?
Yep. And so what should have happened is this should have been a mistrial on the whole thing today, and this particular trial be over. Okay, so what happened is the prosecutor said, Judge, we'll just go ahead and dismiss count 1, and that way it's just gone, and then you can tell them to proceed to deliberate on count 2. So now they're going to be deliberating starting Monday on a count 2 that they really should not ever have been able to proceed to deliberations on because they did not find him not guilty on count 1.
So, Phil, then why are they opposed to this? Because that shouldn't have happened, right?
Yeah, so the defense, it's really good lawyering because they objected to the dismissal, and because it was dismissed over their objection, it's now gone. So that played out the way that it should have, I think. But they shouldn't have had to get there in the first place because it should have been a dismissal. So the lawyers have to kind of make sure they preserve this error for appeal by objecting to it being done this way. So now they, in the event of a conviction, they have a really good argument, I think, on appeal. But of course, appeals are worthless if you've already done your 3 or 4 years in prison by the time the appeal gets heard. But nevertheless, this is where we are.
And the rest of the country is right now is, why the hell is this guy on trial for anything, Phil? Even Eric Adams is on board.
Well, in Manhattan, see, to understand this, you have to understand that in Manhattan, they've got a political system that's masquerading as a legal system. And so you've got Alvin Bragg, who couldn't lawyer himself out of a wet paper bag, and he's simply just doing this for political currency with the voters in Manhattan. And it's just like the Trump case, right? You had 20-something charges that even the smartest lawyers I know can't really understand how Bragg came up with those charges in that indictment, let alone how a jury convicted anybody. But that's the reality of it. So, in a rational, sane legal system, he would never be on trial. We want to encourage people to be good Samaritans and to step up when people are running crazy and threatening people on trains. We don't want to discourage that by trying to throw them in prison. But that's the reality of what's on the ground right now in Manhattan.
So how would you then, I don't know if it's possible to handicap what the jury, might be thinking on this second charge. Clearly there were people on that jury that said, no way are we convicting on manslaughter. So they're deadlocked on that. But would they be willing to obviously convict on this lesser charge? And then what's the range of punishment for that? And can the judge not even punish him for that? Like, could he give him probation?
He can get up to 4 years in prison. Of course, the judge can do anything less than that if the judge sees fit in the event of a conviction. But we may not get there because, as you said, there's a division in the jury room, and it's worth noting there's at least 2, maybe 3 lawyers on the jury, and so I don't know really any room where you got a couple of lawyers that are going to agree on everything. So maybe that's part of it, but maybe the lawyers are back there saving the day, saying, look, this it doesn't meet the legal standard. Undoubtedly, there's probably going to be a handful that are voting on this case based on emotion versus based on the law and the facts as they see it coming to them from the courtroom. But, what that breakdown is anybody's guess. I think that my gut tells me there's probably going to still be some division as to count 2 come Monday. And we may be right back here talking about a hung jury and a mistrial on count 2.
Phil Holloway, let's talk about a couple other things. This case from New York City with Brian Thompson, the murder of the United Healthcare executive, is also strange. And I guess the word this afternoon is, and this doesn't really surprise me, that the suspect has probably left the state, is what they're thinking. What are you hearing on this right now?
Yeah, so I was thinking that just the other day. I was thinking he's probably long gone within hours or so of the assassination, and that's what it was. There's this connection here in Atlanta. They decided that or figured out that he had traveled to New York, I think the day before Thanksgiving, on a Greyhound bus leaving Atlanta. So they're backtracking and they're looking at the local security cameras in Atlanta now. The Atlanta police are involved. They're looking at any private there's these high rises down there near the bus station, and there's a lot of corporate offices, so you're going to have private security cameras. And so the Atlanta police are conducting that aspect of the investigation here. And, of course, there's a lot of it going on back where he lived up in Minnesota as well. So I'm not surprised that the killer's out of the state. What I would be surprised is if he is still alive. I think that this might be a situation where he may never be, found alive. But certainly if he is found alive, we all want him to be brought to justice.
You've seen, no doubt, Phil, some of the vile reaction to this particular murder. And, John Levine at the New York Post tweeted this. I retweeted it yesterday. He goes, "It goes without saying that there is a very large overlap between the people here celebrating the murder of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson and those who celebrate Hamas violence. There is no limiting principle to those who see violence as an acceptable tool of politics." And I'm not shocked by a lot, but I retweeted a scroll of a CNN feed where people are making comments of like 8,000 comments, and it's disgusting. I can't believe it.
I commented on something. I think it was a Columbia law or Columbia professor. I forget who it was, but I commented just a little while ago before this interview where you get this. I don't condone violence, but
right.
Okay, and then they go in and say how awful insurance companies are, and they're basically showing great sympathy towards the killer, the murderer, the cold-blooded killer. And you're right. On the left, particularly the far left. Violence is a perfectly acceptable political tool, unfortunately, but that's the world we live in.
One thing I didn't spend a lot of time on this week, and I'm a little embarrassed by it just because we had so many other things going on, but this House subcommittee report on the COVID origins that came out is really, really interesting and revealing, and probably you would argue, certainly as someone who took a lead on a lot of this a few years ago, deserves a lot more attention, Phil.
Yeah, it reads like an indictment of Anthony Fauci, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's almost like they acknowledge that Fauci and company committed this epic fraud on a worldwide scale. I mean, whether it's masks, vaccines, social distancing, closing schools, and all that. I mean, the man took a wrecking ball to the fabric of society, and the House committee, has basically called him out. Now we're talking about possibly a preemptive pardon by Joe Biden on the way out the door. It's certainly not the kind of pardon power that our framers envisioned, but this is what the left does. They want to go ahead and just immunize their on the way out. They want to immunize their loyalists, right? So that in moving forward, I guess anybody who serves in any presidential administration could just say, we can just do whatever we want now because our boss can give us a blanket pardon on the way out the door. It's a terrible look, terrible precedent, but this is what the Democrats and Joe Biden are going to probably bring us.
Well, my friends on the left, I do this show on Fridays, the Reardon Roundtable, Phil, in the 3 o'clock hour. And my friends on the left, we have myself and then my friend Senator John Lamping, former senator, is a Republican, and then two folks on the left. And they were trying to defend the whole Hunter Biden thing as saying, Republicans do this as well. But I think it's been established, especially from a legal perspective, that this is a little different type of pardon with Hunter Biden.
Yeah, well, because first off, they want to lie to us with a straight face and say that, he just had a change of heart here just in the last few days. This thing went back to 2014. It was meticulously crafted, knowing exactly what the necessary dates had to be in order to achieve the desired outcome, which was the desired outcome was not just getting Hunter off the hook. The desired outcome was to discourage and dissuade any future investigations into the Biden crime family, and that's why the dates were so big, because it literally goes back to when he got on the board of Burisma and all that. So this thing was in the works for quite some time, and it was no accident that Hunter Biden always appeared so confident when you would see him going in and out of court and making public appearances.
Phil Holloway, great information on Danny Penny. I always appreciate your help. You have a great weekend. We'll see what happens on Monday, right?
All right, brother. Take care.
All right, take care. That's Phil Holloway, Fox News legal analyst and great friend of this program as well. Let me kind of piggyback a little bit on the Hunter Biden stuff. We aired a little bit of this audio, and I do have audio cut of the day coming up. But KJP, of course, said this over and over and over again.
Is there any possibility that the president would end up pardoning his son?
No.
Well, is there?
I just said no. I just answered. Go ahead. We've been asked that question multiple times. Our answer stands, which is no. It's still a no. It's still a no.
It will always be a no.
It's still a no. It will be a no. It is a no, and I don't have anything else to add. Will he pardon his son? No.
No. Well, we know that turned out differently. And KJP, let's see, she said Monday? Because it was Sunday night, right? She said since Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, right? 5 days. 5 days to craft a response, and here it was.
The president and you portrayed the no pardon is part of where the question comes from. Because all the facts that you have outlined were well known in advance.
And I would add, there has been some circumstances that have changed this, right? Republicans not letting up, saying they won't stop. They're going to continue to do this. I mentioned the recent Trump appointees of legal enforcement positions, right? That said during the campaign they would have, they were out for retribution, and so no reason to not take them for the word. I pointed that. There was a sentencing coming up, as you all know.
That was well known.
I said there are multiple factors here. Not one thing led to this. Multiple factors, and I think if you look at all of these, it's a combination of reasons why the president wrestled with this over the weekend and made this decision.
Ain't that great?
Yes. Kenny Wallace fits perfectly there. Are you kidding me? Yeah, and she was pressed a little bit.
Now that you've had time and the president has had time to absorb how the public has responded to this, to think on it further, does he have any concerns about the fact that he had been so declarative and then granted this pardon? It's clearly done, and many Americans understand as a father how he would do that. But does he have concern about his credibility or the impact it might have on future pardons?
He should. I'm going to play the answer here, but he certainly should. And I'm glad that someone's asking the question.
And I will also say, just to bring up Clyburn again, because I think it's important, right? Because you were asking me what we said over the summer. Clyburn spoke to the president 2 weeks ago, and the president, he said, this is Clyburn's words, the president was reticent when he tried to encourage him to pardon Hunter Biden. And I think that is his son, obviously. And I think that's important to note. Look, I would refer you back to the last couple of sentences in the president's statement. And I think it's important here where he talked about wrestling this.
No, I don't think we need to hear that. She's talking about James Clyburn, the congressman. But the other question that came up today, now this is the next thing, we were talking about this with Phil, preemptive pardons.
Preemptive pardons? Yeah. You clearly didn't rule that out. You confirmed that the White House is really considering that in response to
I'm not confirming anything. I'm just saying I'm not going to get ahead of the president on this issue. There's a process.
Are you ruling out the idea?
What I'm saying is I'm not getting ahead of the president.
Well, if she would rule, who cares if she rules out the idea? Anything she says up there has no credibility whatsoever anyway. She can say, yeah, we're ruling that out. Why wouldn't she just get up there and say, yeah, we're ruling that out? Because who cares? Nobody cares anymore. They'll just flip it around in a few weeks and they'll pardon whoever they want. And then she'll be on her way and she'll be writing her book and she'll have a segment on MSNBC, right? I thought this was interesting what John Fetterman said.
I think it's undeniable that the case against Hunter Biden was really politically motivated, but I also think it's true that the trial in New York for Trump that was political as well too. Now it's that, and in both cases, I think a pardon is appropriate, and I really think collectively, America's confidence in these kinds of institutions have been damaged by these kinds of cases, and we cannot allow these kinds of institutions to be weaponized against our political opponents. I'm talking about the New York trial, and now the Democrats on our side there were some that were gleeful, calling it like now he's a convicted felon.
Yeah, in my fun game to play with friends, you can still do this over the holidays when they say convicted felon. Ask them what he was convicted of in New York. Just ask. And they won't be able to answer. It's a fun game. Try it. I've played it myself. We're going to come back here with Garret Price, the director of a great new documentary on Max and HBO called Yacht Rock. It's coming up next.
Dependable traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
Still seeing delays this afternoon on 40 as you slow down westbound from Kings Highway to Big Bend, and then eastbound by the Inner Belt. The Richmond Heights is a tough trip too. So the Inner Belt backs up because of all the people on 40, and you're backed up to around 340. Then eastbound 40 also still busy through Chesterfield. It's been like that for hours now with delays from 340 to 141. You got northbound troubles on 270 through Maryland Heights after the Dorset Road exit. And you might want to skip taking southbound 44 through Columbus Square as it's slammed from the stand span down to the Eads Bridge. And this is due to a crash in the left lane that I can see on the Cordell and Cordell Domestic Litigation Firm traffic camera. I'm Ian Stark, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
Well, we had a great conversation with George Rosenthal earlier this week from ThrottleNet. He's our go-to expert when we have stories, whether it's a hack or a data breach or something like that. We have these undersea cables in the Baltic that were severed that carry a lot of information and data, and it was a fascinating conversation. They're always fascinating conversations. If you're a business owner, you need George and the team to come over and dazzle you with their knowledge. ThrottleNet here in St. Louis provides award-winning business IT support, managed IT services, and cybersecurity. No client of ThrottleNet has ever paid a ransom. That's something that they're very proud of. The website has all kinds of information, and one thing that's very special here is they will not lock you into a contract, so you can leave at any time. Check out the website, throttlenet.com. If you throw a /971 on the end of that website, you'll take a tour of the dark web. Tell them that we sent you over, throttlenet.com today.
Honey, bags are packed and in the trunk. Is the car good to drive to Mother's holiday dinner?
Yes, dear. Car's good. We have Ox Car Care for their extended car service plan. Ox covers our repair bills if anything happens. We have no worries if any problems come up on our holiday travels. Ox Car Care has our back.
I remember. Ox has flexible coverage plans that can protect issues with engine, transmission, brake systems, and so much more.
Yep, we don't pay. Ox pays. Ox gets it fixed for us. Joe at the auto shop says Ox Car Care pays them directly, and there's no complicated paperwork. Ox is A+ rated with already millions of dollars paid out in claims.
Right. They handled our claim from start to finish, unlike those other companies. Good call. The last thing we need is an unexpected car repair bill this holiday. The only thing now is, which pie is Aunt Martha making?
Drive with absolute peace of mind this holiday season. Call Ox Car Care for your free quote. 800-296-3315. Don't get stuck with a major car repair bill. Call Ox today. 800-296-3315. 800-296-3315 or oxcarcare.com.
If you're considering an annuity as part of your retirement plan, we need to talk. Hi, I'm Bob Stockdale, Senior Vice President Investments with the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel and host of On the Money Saturday mornings at 11 on 97.1 FM Talk. Annuities can be a useful tool for some retirement investors, but not all annuities are created equal. Every week, we meet clients who own complex annuities that don't suit their needs and, in some cases, actively undermine their retirement plan. Before you purchase an annuity, get a second opinion from the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel. Requesting a consultation is free of charge. To request a free consultation, contact us at clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com, or call us at 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com or 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas & Company Incorporated, member NYSE and SIPC.
It's time for a $98 furnace tune-up.
And this portion of the show is sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating and Air.
Hi, this is Fred Bottomer from the Mark Reardon Show, inviting you to donate blood at the Odyssey Holiday Heroes Blood Drive. Please call 1-800-RED-CROSS to schedule an appointment or visit redcrossblood.org. Use sponsor code Odyssey.
Follow Mark on Twitter at Mark Reardon KFTK and Instagram at Mark Talk. You're listening to The Mark Reardon Show.
Well, About a year and a half ago, I went and saw Bruce Springsteen and the East Street Band with my dear friend John Lynch in Kansas City, and we made the decision. He had a Tesla Model S, and we made the decision to just drive back after the show. We weren't ready to sleep. We were thinking about, staying at a hotel. And Tesla has this yacht rock station, and John put it on, and we're about the same age, and we listened to stuff like this the whole ride back. Like Christopher Cross and stuff like that, Ambrosia, 10cc. These were all things I played on the radio 40 years ago. Lo and behold, there is a new documentary, and it is fantastic. It's on Max right now. You should watch it. It's called Yacht Rock. Garret Price, who is the director, is with us this afternoon. Hey, Garret, how are you? Thanks for coming on here in St. Louis on 97.1 FM Talk.
Hey, Mark. Thanks so much for having me, man.
Let me start by saying this is a wonderful documentary, soothing and nostalgically comfortable, not unlike the genre that you're exploring here.
I appreciate it. I went in wanting to make a documentary that felt like a nice, warm hug for so many people. And the response has been overwhelmingly positive. So I appreciate you saying that.
It really is cool. Now, look, you're younger than me. You're about my wife's age because you were born, I think, in 1979. I did a little research. That was the time period where all this was kind of taking off. And it was interesting. You got a guy by the name, I think his name is Mac DeMarco, who's featured. And he said of yacht rock, it sits in a certain zone. It's not that it doesn't rock. It doesn't rock too hard. It doesn't rock, but it rocks, right? That says a lot right there, I think, Garret.
Absolutely. I just want to, I think everyone has their own kind of definition of what this music is. And I wanted to get like these contemporary modern musicians and talk about this music that has influenced them. I think it adds a whole level of legitimacy to the sound and its importance in history of music.
So let's talk about the definition of the genre, because when I was starting in radio and playing these songs, in the early 80s and in mid 80s, we called it adult contemporary, light rock, soft rock. So the whole yacht rock thing caught me off guard in the past few years. Sirius XM has a station. I mentioned Tesla. Then I learned in your movie where this all came from this web series in the mid 2000s, right?
Yeah, it's pretty remarkable. This low budget web series created these kind of, alt history satire vignettes about these artists making this really smooth, polished music in Southern California. And it kind of caught like wildfire. And they, retroactively created this genre, but they had specific rules for this music and parameters. And it kind of makes sense as a subgenre of soft rock when you start to kind of break it down like this. This is like well-produced, polished, smooth music, heavily infused with jazz and R&B, being made in Southern California by these world-class session players. And when you start to look at it that way, a lot of people, I think, that kind of put in this yacht rock category, like your Fleetwood Macs or your Eagles, you can kind of push back that they don't quite, follow under all those rules. And it makes sense as a genre. There's relatively few people making this music, and they were all interconnected at that time. And I wanted to really highlight that in the film.
And I knew a fair amount about the intersectionality because I was a radio guy and I was a music guy. I worked in the record business in the early 1980s. So, for example, we'll get into Toto here a little bit. I knew about the Porcaro brothers and Steve Lukather and how they played. I think even in the movie you kind of describe them as a bit of a wrecking crew of the 1970s, the late 1970s. These guys were some of the best studio musicians out there, and they played on hundreds of records.
Yeah, it's pretty remarkable how prolific they are. And I think a lot of people just know them from, Africa and Rosanna. But these guys were touching so many albums across so many genres. They're just these incredible musicians. And I really wanted to kind of pull the curtain back to show the artistry, the musicianship, that went into making so many of these songs and give these guys the credit they deserve.
Well, the storytelling is enhanced considerably by a St. Louis guy, a Ferguson guy. He's from right here in the area. That's Michael McDonald. We love him here in St. Louis. But I think even folks who know a lot about Michael McDonald will learn a lot in this movie about everything that he did, not only with the Doobies, but Kenny Loggins and beyond. I mean, his story really is cool. And he's such a great guy, Garret. Come on, Michael McDonald is the best, right?
I mean, the absolute best, the complete mensch. And, we started calling him the yacht father because everything he touched in this space, fits the definition of this music, including, that doobie bounce he created with the Fender Rhodes piano that has come to define the sound of this music.
So he admits, though, it's funny. He says he didn't get the gig in Steely Dan because of the piano, but because he could sing high. And I was thinking about this even today. There's nobody that sings like Michael McDonald. Nobody. And that's why he got so many, gigs and so many people wanted to collaborate with him.
Absolutely. And again, these artists, they were so excited to tell their stories about making music in this time period. I think they kind of got skipped over a little bit. I think a lot of us romanticized about the 70s and Los Angeles. from the Sunset Strip and we go straight towards like Laurel Canyon or the Eagles or Fleetwood Mac. Yet on the other side of town, all these incredible musicians were working day and night in this ecosystem of recording studios. And that's what I was interested in doing and exploring that world.
Well, not everyone was extremely excited about exploring it with you. And I don't want to ruin anything from the movie, but I played this clip yesterday and earlier, and this is something that does appear with Donald Fagen from Steely Dan.
Hello, Mr. Fagen.
Yeah, this is he.
Yeah, hi. This is Garrett. I'm the one making this Yacht Rock documentary.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so I've been talking to a lot of people that have played with you and Steely Dan over the years, and I was wondering if you'd sit down with me and talk about your music and this genre.
And what genre is that?
Yacht rock.
Oh, yacht rock. Well, I tell you what. Why don't you go yourself?
I think Donald Fagen hung up on me.
Oh, my God. That was epic.
Yep.
So you couldn't get Donald Fagen. And have you had reactions since because, look, the bottom line is this is an homage to Steely Dan. It really is.
Yeah, and here's the thing also. After that phone call, they reached out, his team, and said, Donald has granted you the use of all his music in this film. So I think Donald's being Donald Fagen, and it's a wink. He gets it. And none of these guys can deny that this word has brought in a legion of new fans to this music, or allowed people to rediscover this music that might have had abandoned it years ago. I always say, Mark, this music, is the soundtrack of our lives, whether we liked it or not, because it was always there. Whether we're grocery shopping or at the doctor's office, the dentist chair, our parents' car, and I think we took it for granted. But I really wanted it to show like the artistry and the musicianship and just the incredible talent that went behind making this complex, incredible pop music at the time.
So even on Asia with Peg, this was fascinating to me. And I've, run across a fair amount of musicians who are perfectionists, Bruce Springsteen probably chief among them. But they had 7 different solos essentially auditioning for this part in Peg, and they finally decide on one. But man, talk about perfectionists, right? I mean, they were highly demanding and they wanted craftsmanship that was at the top of the game.
Absolutely. I think a lot of these artists that played with Steely Dan took, that mantra of perfectionism into their own works. And I think that's why we kind of create this whole thesis that Steely Dan is the big bang of yacht rock, And I think it's important. And once you see those lines drawn, those connections, it makes a whole lot of sense.
Let me play something that is not yacht rock, because this blew my mind, all right? Because I'm a hard rock guy at my core, and this is Ritchie Blackmore playing a solo here with Deep Purple. You're telling me, Garrett, that Christopher Cross happened to be in, where was it, New Orleans? Ritchie Blackmore gets sick, and Christopher Cross, the guy who did Sailing and some of these other songs, filled in for Ritchie Blackmore. That is a true story?
It was in San Antonio, Texas. Ritchie got sick. Chris was a young kid, basically, guitarist, and he jumped right in there. I mean, Chris is a prolific guitar player. I mean, that solo in Red Like the Wind, you just isolate that, it's pretty remarkable.
There's a couple things that I was left with the impression of. And let me tell you this, too, and this is being honest. I got pretty emotional in parts of this film, Garrett. I don't know if anyone else has told you that, but there's a point where Kenny Loggins and Michael McDonald are telling about how they created What a Fool Believes. And it's a great story, by the way, but I was getting chills, and it almost made me cry. I'm not even making this up, and I don't even know why, but it was so cool to see and to hear these stories.
I love you say that. I've heard that a lot. I think just you see it in their interviews, their passion and how earnest they are about this music they made. And I think they're so appreciative. People are still listening to it. I think a lot of them felt like their careers were over in the mid-'80s, and they cannot believe that the resurgence they've had with this music. And it makes a lot of sense, just how well produced it is and how it has escapist qualities. And I think it goes against it serves the test of time, right?
It does, but
I think
it's also one of those. It's also one of those things. And let me use Africa as an example, because I was a big Toto fan. I played Toto on the radio. Africa and Rosanna are probably 2 of my favorite songs. But you know what? You think I've admitted that over the decades? You think I told people that I was singing along to Africa with that great chorus in my car? Because I think a lot of us were embarrassed that we liked some of these songs, or Criss Cross. And then as they take a bigger piece of culture, maybe we can come to terms with that. But I think I speak for a lot of people in my audience of a certain age. We got a great radio station here in St. Louis, KC95, that broke all these hard rock records, right? And then you start listening to some things that are a little different. You're like, wait a second, am I okay? Is that okay as a fan of rock music to like something that's a little softer, right? So there's an interesting, personal negotiation that I think people experience.
Also, yeah, and I think it's true. It's okay to admit you like this music. I think there's a certain point in your age you get to. You're like, you know what? I don't care if people don't think this is cool or not. I like this music. And, in the age of streaming and Spotify, you don't have to have a record or a CD cover sitting there. So I think you can hide your taste a little bit better now. Also, maybe I don't know.
No,
but,
I think that's
I'm just
true.
happy it's getting a second chance. This music again has always been there. And I think I'm so happy people are rediscovering it or discovering it for the first time, or there's incredible tribute bands that are carrying on this music too. And there's kids in garages making yacht rock now, which I find fascinating. I think it's really special. It's here to stick.
I'm a big John Mayer fan, and I don't know if you're familiar with his last record, Sob Rock, which was essentially a big wet kiss to the 80s and some of this music for sure.
Absolutely. I think we hear these elements in modern music now. That's why I had people like, Questlove and Thundercat and Mac DeMarco and Prince Paul from De La Soul talk about, how important this music was to them in their own work. And I think it got passed over a lot, when you go back in the history of pop music, and it deserves its place on the mantle, I think.
Tell me a little bit more about Thundercat, because Questlove's awesome. And I don't know much about Thundercat, but he was so cool in this movie. I loved him.
Yeah, incredible bassist, kind of a session bassist. I mean, played with suicidal tendencies. So he just across all genres, and then started doing his own music. And he was a massive, massive fan of Kenny Loggins and Michael McDonald, as it comes across in his interviews. And he wrote this song that he wanted to bring them both on, and they both sang on it. They played at Coachella. They went on tour together with this music. And again, he's just one of the many stories that's keeping this music relevant, I think. And I really appreciate him being a part of it and talking about why this music's so important and what it is.
So what has obviously getting positive reaction. Somebody told me, I don't know if you were on with Chris today, but I think Chris Cross was on CNN. Did you do that interview with him, Garret? Yeah.
Chris and I got asked to do CNN. They're also appreciative also of getting their music back out there and their stories out there, and I give them major kudos for trusting me to tell their stories. It's not easy as an artist, to hand over your life's work to somebody objectively to tell your story, especially this day and age of documentaries, where the narrative wants to be controlled by so many different people. So, it's exciting, and I'm excited they're reacting positively to the film. They all saw it for the first time only last week. So I had full control to tell the story, and it was an incredible experience showing the film for them all.
So why did you really want to do this? Because your background, I know a little bit about you, but you were involved in some television shows, but not necessarily anything musically. So how did this all start for you?
Yeah, well, I was an editor on a TV series called Daisy Jones and the Six, which was a TV show literally about 1970s Los Angeles. So I was immersed in this culture, but that show was loosely based on Fleetwood Mac. And I became obsessed with this time period. But like I said, I think a lot of people skipped over the studio session guys. So I knew I wanted to tell a story in there. The last documentary I made was on Woodstock 99, which is a bit more of a true crime music story than it was celebrating music. So I wanted to find a project where I showcased the music itself. And coincidentally, I became friends with Christopher Cross's daughter, who, believe it or not, is best friends and roommates with Michael McDonald's daughter. And one night we were at a bar, and they said, you should make a documentary about our dads and their relationship with this word yacht rock, how it's come to define their music 30 years after the fact. I was like, that's a great idea. And, I approached them and said, let's do a film where I give you guys a platform to define your music you were making underneath the umbrella of this word that is kind of bequeathed to you so many years later.
I feel like, in a moment like this, when I interview a director or an actor, I don't want to ruin too many things from the movie because I want people to see this, but there's so many of these stories that are so fascinating. Like Chris Cross wrote Ride Like the Wind when he was tripping on LSD. True story, right?
Right. Absolutely. This is after he talks about, selling, the way he made his first demos was selling weed as a pot dealer. I just love these like little tidbits of, behind the music. And these stories that they've never really told before because they've never really had the platform or people have never really asked.
And it's interesting also because that era, because I was on the radio. I started on the radio in 1981, and then I worked for an adult contemporary station after I did some rock in 1985. So, Garrett, I played these songs over and over and over again. I thought it was funny because Steve Lukather at one point, because let's be honest, some of these songs are divisive, right? Not everyone loves Steely Dan. Not everyone loves Africa or Toto. Steve Lukather at one point goes, you don't think I'm kind of sick of that song for as many times as I've played it? But it is a unique era in music, but MTV changed so much because you look at a guy like Chris Cross who kind of looks like, your everyday American. He didn't look so good on MTV, right? Because these were guys that were just playing their music. They didn't care about the way they looked, but then you had to kind of care about the way you looked.
Yeah, when MTV came along, music got much more multidimensional. You had to market yourself, on screen as much as what the music mattered. So I think, it kind of crowded a lot of these guys out. They didn't want to play that game. It's the true story of video killed the radio star, right, Mark?
It is. Yeah, it really is. Well, listen, I thought this was a very special movie. I said something on the air, and hopefully I didn't really make this a self-fulfilling prophecy, but I admitted on the air earlier that when I'm super excited about a topic, I remember this with Don Rickles because I love Don Rickles. Don Rickles actually pulled me up on stage one time at a show, and he wrote a book, and I interviewed him 20 years ago, clearly before he died, and it was just terrible. I was terrible. So I was so excited about this, I figured I'd screw up the interview. But I think I did all right, mainly compared because you did so good.
Oh, thanks, Mark. I'm just so happy people are responding to the film. And, and this music is alive and well. And I hope it sticks around for forever because it deserves to be.
It is a great documentary. I've already had a lot of friends that were way ahead of me, and they've seen it. It is on Max right now. Go check it out. Garret Price, thank you so much. Have a great Christmas, and do another movie like this. You can do a whole movie on Chris Cross, couldn't you?
You absolutely could. I mean, the nuggets I had to leave on the cutting room floor. I appreciate you having me on, Mark.
Take care, Garret.
Thanks.
Dependable traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
Still got delays to deal with out there on 40 as you head westbound from Kings Highway towards Big Bend, and then eastbound by the Inner Belt through Richmond Heights is still a slow spot, and the Inner Belt's backed up as a result from around 340. And then northbound, you got delays after Page Avenue. I can see that on the Cordell and Cordell domestic litigation firm traffic camera. Eastbound 40 also still busy through Chesterfield with delays from 340 about 141. That's been out there for a few hours now. You have northbound traffic on 270 through Maryland Heights after the Dorset Road exit, and a lot of traffic to deal with through St. George on southbound 55 and exit 199 for Rivas Barracks Road. As for the bridges to and from out of Illinois, you are good in and out. I'm Ian Stark, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
It's Mark Reardon from my friends at Zero Res. Here's a question for you. You need to answer honestly. Is your home ready for the holidays? If you haven't had the carpets cleaned in a while, the answer is no, and this is the time to do something about it. And I have a great offer from my friends at Zero Res right now during the month of December. I've had Zero Res in my home so many times over the last decade. Unfortunately, a lot this year because of pet accidents. They can always help you in a pinch. But for some overall cleaning, getting your home ready for the holidays, maybe getting the gunk out of the air ducts, this is a great time to do it. Call Zero Res at 314-474-2020 or book online at ZeroResSTL.com. And the offer, when you mention my name or 97.1 FM Talk for the month of December, 3 rooms starting at $129, $75 off your air duct cleaning package. They have great customer service, a ton of crews, and the legendary 30-day Gotta Love It guarantee. Book your appointment today. You spell it backward or forward, it spells the same. Zero Res. Call 314-474-2020 or online, ZeroResSTL.com.
Are you worried about the state of the economy? Concerned about market crashes and rising inflation wiping out your savings? At Noble Gold Investments, we understand your fears and have a solution. Call us today at 1-888-403-1050. Imagine safeguarding you and your family with a tangible asset that has stood the test of time. Gold. With Noble Gold Investments, you can diversify your portfolio and protect your wealth from economic turmoil. Our team will guide you through the process, ensuring you make informed decisions that best suit your needs. Call Noble Gold Investments today at 1-888-403-1050. That's 1-888-403-1050. The future is uncertain. Take control now. Call 1-888-403-1050.
Past performance may not be indicative of future results. Investing in precious metals, including gold, involves risks. Consult with your tax attorney or financial professional before making an investment decision.
It's the greatest pop rock of the 60s and 70s. It's the Happy Together Tour 2025 with the Turtles, Jay and the Americans, Little Anthony, Mark Lindsay, former lead singer of Paul Revere and the Raiders, the Vogues, and the Cowsills. August 21st, the Family Arena. Reserve seats on sale Friday, 10 a.m. at the Carroll House Furniture box office located at the Family Arena or Ticketmaster.
Clint Black in concert. Clint Black, an incredible night featuring some of his greatest hits. Saturday, April 12th, 7 p.m., the Family Arena. Clint Black in concert. Special guests Ruby Lee and Emily Ann Roberts. On sale Friday, 10 a.m. at the Carroll House Furniture box office located at the Family Arena or Ticketmaster. Don't miss Clint Black.
The Mark Cox Morning Show.
Hey, it's Kim. Mark's back Monday. Hopefully the frog in his throat is gone. At 8:20, Jessie Jane Duff on whether she thinks Pete Hegseth will get confirmed for defense secretary.
Weekdays from 5 to 9.
The Mark Cox Morning Show.
On St. Louis's home for conservative talk.
Let's talk about Pete Hegseth before we wrap here.
I got my mind set on you.
Thank you, George. Appreciate that. By the way, I love that conversation with Garret Price. That is such a good movie. I want people to see it. I know a lot of you have seen it already. I'm ready to watch it again. It was so good, and Michael McDonald was spectacular. But on the Pete Hegseth question, this is really good. In CNN, they continue to embarrass themselves outside of the times that they have Scott Jennings on. By the way, I had to text Jennings this afternoon because let me see if he responded. He hasn't yet. I read that he has been, he just interviewed, he was filling in for Mike Gallagher on his radio show. I think it's on Sirius XM. And he interviewed the owner of the LA Times. And I read that Jennings was named as an editorial board member. He's written columns for the LA Times for a long time. But he was named as an editorial board member for the Los Angeles Times. I would expect that if that's true, there will be people from the LA Times like these numbnuts like Michael Hiltzik and some of the other columnists that will resign. That could be a good thing because Paul Krugman at the New York Times, we're done with him. He's no longer going to embarrass himself because he retired from his column today. But speaking of embarrassing, here's the team on CNN that features Anderson Cooper and others on New Year's Eve drinking up a storm, questioning Pete Hegseth's use of alcohol.
And we just have to put some meat on the bone here, which is allegations keep coming out of various forms. One of them was at the Washington Post yesterday, which reported at Fox News, Hegseth had a reputation as a heavy drinker. That's according to 6 former Fox News employees who worked directly with Hegseth and saw him drinking on the job.
Yeah, anonymous sources are upset that Pete Hegseth drank warm, stale beer while celebrating St. Patrick's Day. Meantime, you have, drunk people. Well, you might have a vice president that's got a drinking problem. That's certainly a possibility. And you have Anderson Cooper on with, what's his name from here, doing the, nonstop drinking on New Year's Eve. So it's a little bit more than just, slightly hypocritical when they talk about this. But they're going to try to bring him down as much as they possibly can, Pete Hegseth. And it looks like he's a fighter, and he is going to survive. I got to do audio cut of the day, so let's get to that right now.
Stand by. Playback ready.
Now, the audio cut of the day.
I'm going to make this one a little bit longer here today, just because I kind of want to weave a little bit of the story about the media. And I embarrassed myself yesterday slightly. Although I'm at the point in my career when I embarrass myself, it happens on such a regular basis, I didn't really care. But some of you might have noticed this or heard it. I had Sean Spicer on the show yesterday. I took all of last week off. I didn't follow closely the news until really Sunday, and really, if I'm being honest, until Monday morning. I had no idea that Carolyn Levitt had been appointed as the White House press secretary. I didn't think that was a position that had been appointed. And I asked Spicer, I said, hey, who's your money on for White House press spokesperson? He said, well, Carolyn Levitt, I'll bet you $100. He knew that I didn't know. And I was embarrassed by that, but I asked Fred, too. I said, Fred, did you know that? And he had missed it, too, because he was on vacation last week. But I'm pretty impressed. But here's something I learned about Carolyn Levitt today. Carolyn Levitt is just 27 years old, the youngest White House press secretary in history. Trump hates women, right? He hates women. He hates appointing women to these positions. Here she was on Fox Today.
Well, let me preface by saying that there has never been a more transparent president than Donald Trump. We saw that in his first term. He consistently called the press into the Oval Office when he was signing bills. He took questions from them directly. That's something the press, I know, is yearning for. They have not had that over the past 4 years. So the transparency and their access to the leader of the free world will be increased, and also to the press secretary as well. We will be holding briefings in that room.
All right, so I'm going to tell you what happened here, and there's people out there, you know, the New York Times, the Washington Post, certainly the NPR, the PBS, they're very, very nervous about what's going to happen. There's rumors out there that Trump is going to transform the briefing room, and it's going to be something that is completely different we've never seen before, and the legacy media is scared to death because they don't like the fact that the alternative media plays more of an important role than they do, and I can give you a couple of real-life examples. The Daily Wire is breaking stories like crazy. They're the ones that broke the story a few weeks ago on the FEMA worker that wasn't treating, Trump voters as well as they were Harris voters. And that became a big story that was eventually picked up by the LA Times and the New York Times and some of the other publications. Well, it was alternative media that was driving all of that. And there have been complaints in the briefing room during the first administration when Trump was in office that you had people in there that didn't belong because they weren't journalists with a capital J. They didn't go to journalism school. How dare they try to be real reporters? Well, thankfully, we've all now come to the realization, and even someone like me who's been part of old media for a long time, we realize that old media is dead. It's not dying. It's dead. And we're realizing that every day. So what's going to happen in the press room, Carolyn Levitt?
I think as far as the landscape of the briefing room, it needs to reflect the media habits of the American people in 2024, not in the 1980s. And President Trump won this election by utilizing non-traditional, non-legacy media voices outside the Beltway. That's clearly who the American people are listening to. That's how they're digesting their news. And I think it would be irresponsible of us not to include some of those voices in the briefing room. It is my job to communicate the president's message to the American people as effectively as possible. And we're looking into ways
so some
to
of
do
those
that.
independent journalists will be invited in.
We don't know specific changes just yet, but we're certainly exploring all options.
All right. They should be, and that's good. And I can't wait to see what Carolyn Levitt's going to do. It's going to be a whole lot different, and the tone is going to be very different than KJP coming up there to the briefing table and lying on a regular basis. One more topic, though, just because she was asked about this. Sandra was doing the interview on Fox about Pete Hegseth. We were talking about him, his confirmation, what's happening with that.
There has never been a wavering in the optimism and the confidence from President Trump in Pete Hegseth. He is brilliant. He is intelligent. He is a war fighter, a decorated combat veteran who honorably served this great country. And when you hear him speak on Capitol Hill, you hear how passionate he is to stand up for the war fighters, the men and women who are honorably serving this country in uniform. The Pentagon is clearly failing the American people. Look at the conflicts we are embroiled in abroad. They just failed their 7th audit in a row. The American people elected President Trump to nominate outsiders who are not entrenched in Washington politics to shake up the swamp. That's exactly what Pete Hegseth is going to do. That's why the swamp is after him. President Trump stands by him 100%.
Look, I think people should feel encouraged more than ever. And I'm encouraged that a guy like John Fetterman has said on the record, and why wouldn't there be more Democrats on the record to say on the topic of DOJ, why is it controversial? Why should it ever be controversial to cut government waste? One of the topics that I didn't get into, and I should have on the roundtable earlier this afternoon, was the story that came out yesterday. That's the other story. My brain was having a little bit of a backfire there. That's the other story that was broken by the Daily Wire, right? Same guy that did the story in North Carolina, that you have, a situation with the federal workforce where only 6% of the federal workforce is actually going to their offices. 6%. We got buildings like the new IRS building and others sitting in Washington basically unoccupied. Well, why would you be opposed to pulling back on that? Why would you be opposed to laying off some federal workers who are working at home and not really doing their jobs? They've been sheltered all this time. Well, the rest of us have had to deal with the realities of the economy. Government workers never have to do that, right? Well, they're going to have to from now on. If you're a government worker, I apologize for that, but it's the right thing to do. Have a great weekend. Sue's going to be back on Monday.
Catch anything you missed today by getting the show podcast at 971talk.com. Dependable traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
And you still got problems on the 40 this afternoon, heading westbound from Kings Highway to the Big Bend and eastbound by the Inner Belt through Richmond Heights. And the Inner Belt's backed up as a result, not as far as 340, but close enough where you pass 340, you start seeing those slowdowns. And eastbound 40 also, as it has been for hours, very busy through Chesterfield, heading from 340 to 141. You got northbound traffic on 270 to Maryland Heights after the Dorset Road exit, and through St. George on southbound 55 into Revis Barracks Road at exit 199. And I can see some light traffic out of Illinois on the Poplar, but otherwise all the bridges do look good in both directions. This report sponsored by New Perspective Senior Living of Weldon Spring. I'm Ian Stark, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
Hey, it's Mark Reardon for New Perspective Senior Living in Weldon Spring. This brand new facility offers state-of-the-art independent or assisted living and memory care, and now has holiday specials on select apartments. Visit npseniorliving.com or call today to schedule a free lunch to experience senior living redefined for yourself.
In Missouri, farming isn't just a profession, it's a purpose. You can feel it in our 27 million acres of farmland. You can see it in the nearly 41,000 Missourians who work in agriculture. You can hear it at our farmers markets. You can count it in the $93.7 billion it brings our state. And you can taste it at your family's dinner table. A lot of farmers in our state rely on Bayer's tools and inventions because Bayer has a purpose too, to help farmers thrive. Learn more at go.bayer.com/purpose. Paid for by Bayer.
Prescription products require completion of an online medication consultation with an independent healthcare provider through the LifeMD platform and are only available if prescribed. Subscription required. Individual results may vary. Additional restrictions apply at lifemd.com. Read all warnings before using GLP-1s. Side effects may include a risk of thyroid C-cell tumors. Do not use GLP-1s if you or your family have a history of thyroid cancer.
Should GLP-1 weight loss medication like Wegovy and Zepbound cost hundreds of dollars? We don't think so. TryLifeMD.com helps provide insurance access to the leading GLP-1 medications. Visit TryLifeMD.com to get your free insurance benefits check and see your eligibility in minutes. Listen to Tara's story after losing 42 pounds.
You just take your shot. It doesn't feel like you're on a diet. What I wasn't expecting it to do was to shut off the food noise. I'd gone from 237 to 195. This was life-altering, and if I can do it, I feel like anybody can do it.
Get started right now with your free insurance benefits check and see your eligibility for coverage in minutes at TryLifeMD.com. That's TryLifeMD.com.
Filtering the BS pushed by the mainstream media.
St. Louis is home for conservative talk.
97.1 FM Talk.